Good morning, everybody. Made it to Tuesday. That means yesterday was Monday. It means we got a long way to go until we get to Super Bowl 58. That guy right there is David Jacoby. We got my main man, three-time Super Bowl champion, Mr. Mark Schlereth. Of course, he refused to talk to the media when he was in Denver.
That's correct.
True story. Oh, yeah.
It's not really.
True story.
You and I will talk about that.
And this guy right here, of course, Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers and played with the Jets.
Yeah.
That's like doing time. Trust me, I know a thing or two about that. Mr. Willie Colon. We got tons of great stuff coming your way. The wheel is back today.
What?
We've got a little bunt coming up today.
What?
Oh, yeah. And just out of the gate, as you guys get ready to start your day, there's a little story that's out there that's got me, I don't know if I'm concerned about it, but it ruffled my brain in a weird way this morning.
Brain ruffled?
Yeah, brain ruffle. There's an actual story out there right now that the New York Jets are trading Zach Wilson to the Kansas City Chiefs, and that he's going to be next year's backup to Patrick Mahomes, with the thinking being if anybody can fix Zach Wilson, it's going to be Andy Reid, assuming Andy Reid comes back. And I'm saying to myself, as a diehard Jet fan, great. So Zach Wilson's going to go to a Super Bowl champion, and I'm sitting here stuck with the New York Jets.
Yeah, God loves to make jokes, right? And like if he lands in Kansas City and becomes like the heir apparent to Patrick Mahomes, that would be that would be irony.
I can totally see him going down to the divisional round.
100%.
Zach Wilson winning the AFC Championship and then the Super Bowl championship.
No, he'll like win like a game, like go to the
And
NFC.
this is the life of a Jet fan. That the worst quarterback we've ever had.
Wow.
This guy's worse than Nick Mullins. Like, he's the worst quarterback. And the story comes out today. The Jets have him under contract. The idea is that they're going to trade him. They're going to trade him to Kansas City. And I'm going to be sitting on my ass one day, Mark Schlereth, and it's going to be a big game, like Jacoby said. And Zach Wilson is going to
think about how this operated, because you got to go back to Nick Foles. Nick Foles was out of the league. Nick Foles was going to go into ministry.
That's right. That's right.
They call him up. Andy Reid calls him up and says, come do a year of football rehab. That he goes from Kansas City to Philadelphia. Wentz gets hurt, and Nick Foles wins the Super Bowl. That's exactly what's going to happen to you.
Don't do that.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
It's written in 2026.
It's written in the book. Let's let it happen.
There's a lot of things I have tolerated as a fan. There's a lot of things I'm willing to tolerate as a fan. But when you have a guy that represents, and for those of you, whatever team you root for, just take the worst player you've ever had. That is caused you odds.
Tortured you.
Yeah.
It's tortured.
Like, I don't care what sport
it is. Not the worst players are just bad.
Like,
it's like good bad.
If you're a Brooklyn Net fan or a Sixers fan, think Ben Simmons.
A great night last night, Craig. Big night last night, Craig. He's back.
And I'm sitting here going, this is my lot in life. All because my father was a diehard Giant fan. I went the other way because I didn't like him, and I chose the New York Jets. That if, like, the man couldn't pick the Jets or the Cowboys and allow me to be a fan of a team that actually could win a Super Bowl.
I hear you. My son's birthday is coming up. It's actually on the day of the Super Bowl, and we're having a Super Bowl party.
Nice.
And my wife is like, well, let's get him a Jet jersey. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what you're doing to the Jets. I was like, there's choices. Like, there's many teams he can choose from. Like, the life of a Jets fan is rocky.
But you know how kids are these days. I know you have grandkids who are sports fans, I'm sure. Like all kids these days, it ain't about growing up a fan of one team. Now it's about, I'm a Steph Curry fan. I'm a Mahomes fan. These kids have no loyalty at all to teams.
Yeah, they don't. But you're 100% right. Yeah, they root for it. They root for the best. But we all. The thing is I rooted for the Steelers as a kid. Growing up in Alaska, the Steelers was the first game that came on in the morning. Yeah. You got the Steelers in the morning and the Cowboys in the afternoon.
And just so I understand this, like 3 in the morning? Like what time were the games?
Like literally, literally like 7 a.m.
You had football on.
Right, the game would kick off at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I'd watch that, and then we would go to church after that. So I grew up a huge Steeler fan. But the difference was you picked the team that was winning, obviously, right? To watch. And then you stuck with that team. It's still to
so
this
there
day,
was loyalty, but it was initially based on winning or access. Like there's a lot of people, that were big St. Louis Cardinals baseball fans because you could get their games on the radio late at night. So that makes sense to me.
Sure.
The loyalty part is what our kids don't have today. Because I know I'm raising my kids Knicks fans, but I'll be damned if my kid don't have a Steph Curry jersey in his closet. That's my son.
Booing Anthony Carton.
Sorry.
And one quick thing before we take a break and get to your headlines. The New York Knicks have 30 wins for the year. It's the first time in 27 years that the New York Knicks got to their 30th win before February. It's a special Knicks team. Don't count them out.
We did it,
Put
Joe.
it out there. Special.
27 years ago. Sounds right around the time they went to the finals.
Talk about
Oh.
it. Anyhow, we have a great show for you today. We'll get to your headlines coming up. Obviously, much of our focus, if not all of it, is going to be on the Super Bowl and all the little storylines that are going to start coming out of the woodwork over the next week and a half. Good morning, and thank you for joining us here on FS1. Let's go.
When you smell the amazing scent of Gain Flings, time stops. Your heart races. Your eyes close. And you realize you're in love.
Steve!
With a laundry detergent. Gain Flings, seriously good scent. And 50% more fresh. Now that's love at first sniff.
This isn't Charmin. No wonder I don't feel as clean.
Hurry up, Dad.
I'm trying. This cheap stuff is too thin.
Here's Charmin Ultra Strong.
Ah, my bottom's been saved. Woohoo!
With its diamond weave texture, Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better with fewer sheets and less effort.
What's everybody waiting for? This?
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
And for a shower fresh clean feeling, try Charmin flushable wipes.
Want to get the most out of one sheet? Grab Bounty. Bounty is made to be stronger and more absorbent. So while ordinary brands can't hold up, one sheet of Bounty keeps working even when wet. Now that's the sound of value. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
They said it couldn't be done. They said the world would never accept a cookie this long. Or pretzel, and probably not a churro. They also said, under no circumstances should those really long and delicious treats be wildly affordable. Then we said, but we already made them, and they are. Introducing the incredible new foot-long sidekicks. Get one at Subway today.
All right, welcome back to the Carton Show. There you go. Headlines right out of the gate. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in football. But I got to be honest about it. I want to dislike him in the worst possible way.
You still can, Craig.
And I don't. And I need him to be a villain. I need him to be that kind of douchey villain of a great team. It's what makes sports special when you find people and teams to root against. And I'm struggling on this one because I happen to like him a lot. And he seems like a guy I could have a beer with and enjoy a nice afternoon on the deck, barbecuing up. But I'm dying to hate him. Help me hate him, please.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because the guy, all he does is win. I think when you talk about him as a whole, you kind of hate everybody around him. That's what makes you hate him.
I can hate Kelsey. That's easy.
Yeah.
You can't hate Andy Reid, just a lovable guy. I can hate Kadarius Toney. There's guys I can hate, but I want to hate so much. Hate is such a good passion to have.
It's tough because listen, this was his hardest road to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
everything what they dealt and everything they had gone through as a team to beat Baltimore in the fashion they did it. I mean, this was a legendary.
So what do you think? Outside of Cincinnati and Buffalo, the obvious ones, how do we build hatred towards this guy?
As a Bronco, and watching him beat the Broncos 16 straight times.
Right, talk about it.
You would think that I would have nothing but the white-hot intensity of 1,000 suns.
Yeah, detest him.
Yeah, and I cannot hate
Come on, you got to join me in the hate parade.
I would love to hate this guy.
Right.
And regardless of how good he is, and if he becomes the next kind of quote-unquote GOAT, there's something about him that's not
and you
detestable.
know, one of the reasons I think,
crazy.
Jacoby, I'm having trouble hating him is because it's so easy to dislike his wife. It's so easy to dislike his brother.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, he just seems like, a nice guy, a guy that could be your buddy, a guy if you're like, hey, we're going to the Wawa to get some Slim Jims. You in? He'd be like, I'm driving. He just seems like a good dude.
My problem with him is the same problem I have with Steph Curry, is they're so good, but they're so nice, and they're having so much fun, and they're so likable. And I wanted to hate Patrick Mahomes for calling him soft, but then whenever he's mic'd up, he's a dog out there.
Yeah,
like it's just like I can't find a reason to hate him. However, you mentioned it, and I'll just say it. His brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
His brother. I think what happened was
Jackson
his
Mahomes
brother
or something?
sucked up all the negative personality traits in the family, and he got all the good ones. That's the problem.
Now, I do think, look, you live in Denver, you and I live in Jersey, you're in New York City. I do think if we were doing this show, let's say specifically to the Cincinnati audience, I could load up 1,000 people out the front door who could explain why they hate Patrick Mahomes so much. If you went to Buffalo, I guarantee I could find people that could really articulate their hatred of Patrick Mahomes. But I'm a Jet fan. I don't hate the guy.
Yeah. I don't. The other thing, he's got this quality of being almost the way he speaks like a Sesame Street character.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Kermit.
Right. Yeah. Like it's easy, and I love Tom Brady. I think he's the world's greatest American. But he's handsome. He's beautiful. He's like. Well, I did his last game, his last regular season game.
Tom Brady's.
So I'm in the tunnel, and Tom Brady is walking. We're like so we stop and talk, and he gives me a hug, and we went cheek to cheek. And it's like I found the cure for ED. There is no question. We went cheek to cheek. I was like, it was the greatest thing that's ever happened. I haven't watched that.
I gotta be honest, I'm aroused now. Just
I would say.
It sounded like it moved. It moved.
Was it facial cheeks?
Yes.
That's important.
So it's easy. It's easier to dislike him because he's beautiful. He's perfect.
Yeah.
Mahomes has got some. He's got the flaw in the voice.
I can find some reason to hate Mahomes. Little tantrumy this year for my taste.
Okay.
Little tantrumy. Okay. Remember the Buffalo game with the refs, and there's a game after that with the receivers. He kind of like lost his cool a little bit this year that I haven't seen before. Yeah. I'm reaching. But
well, if throwing tantrums is a reason to hate somebody, there's a room full of people upstairs that don't like me right now.
Right.
One of them sitting over there. All right. Headline number 2, Nick Bosa called out everybody in the media. It seems like there's less and less of these people who are talking poop about Brock Purdy, and he came out and said, what do you have to say for yourselves now? Look, there's a segment of people, some of them work here on the show, Greg Jennings and Plax are with them as well, who just don't buy into the notion that San Francisco's winning because of Brock Purdy. Even the comeback against Green Bay and obviously the comeback against Detroit, there's still, although smaller, a bit of a narrative that Brock Purdy's along for the ride.
Yeah, but
not factual.
But I also think what Jacoby said yesterday, I think people are starting to quiet that. I think you talk about back-to-back weeks, leading his team to victory, coming out in the second half. Even I thought Shanahan had said it in his press conference, that opening drive coming out of the second half, they only came away 3 points. He thought that was a missed opportunity because he just knew Detroit was just going to be coming and
I think we all felt that way.
Yeah, but they didn't. It was him, really, and I said it yesterday, it was his instinct that took over the game. We know he can throw the ball. We know he can do things within the pocket that a lot of quarterbacks can't do, but it was his instincts that took over. He said, you know what? That's a football play.
Yeah, he won that game with his feet. I mean, his ability to scramble and make some plays off schedule, that's what won that game. And then he had a couple of dimes just throwing the football. But and the bottom line last 2 weeks is he's done exactly what he had to do to help his football team win a game when offensively, I'll be honest with you, that's probably 2 of the worst offensive performances back-to-back that they have put out there on the entirety of the season. So, like, you can sit there. There's nothing wrong with managing a game. As a matter of fact, it's what you're supposed to do at that position. And then when you're called on to make a big-time play on third down, you make it, whether it's with your feet or whether it's with your arm, and that's what he's done the last 2 weeks.
Brings us to our final headline. It's a good segue because this goes from Nick Bosa talking about Brock Purdy to Brock Purdy. And here's one of the best side stories. Brock Purdy is disproving every snap that you don't need to pay a quarterback $40 or $50 million a year to get solid quarterback play. Now, to be fair, he's an outlier. Obviously, where he got drafted, the opportunity to play on such a good team, to win the way he's won. But it does disprove the notion that the only way to find a great quarterback is in the first round of a draft or a guy that has to be paid a couple $100 million. I'm not saying that's going to set a new trend, but if I'm a GM, I at least have to consider a guy like Brock Purdy and his success and how he got scouted and how everybody else missed him for 5, 6, 7 rounds of the draft.
Yeah, no, here's the thing that drives me crazy about the draft. And, it's inexact science, but when it comes to the quarterback position, like the majority of the quarterbacks in the National Football League that are there right now were drafted in the first round. It's the way it's overdrafted, and a lot of those guys are second and third round talents that get drafted in the first round. But
because everyone's so desperate to get a guy.
The success rate of those guys is about 25%.
It's a lottery pick.
Right.
Yeah.
So you tell me, like I saw this in the divisional round. Hey, 7 of the 8 quarterbacks in the divisional round were first round picks. Really, how's Cleveland feel about the first round pick of Baker Mayfield that's playing in Tampa right now? How's that help them? How has, like Detroit, like that guy was a first round for them, was the first overall pick in Jared Goff that didn't work out for them. They thought so much of him that they had to get rid of him because they said our ceiling with him is not a Super Bowl championship. He doesn't pass the confetti test. So, like, you can give me all that first round garbage you want, but I just don't buy into that. It's about draft, and then it's about developing guys.
Yeah, look, and the 2 greatest quarterbacks of the last 40 years, one was a 6th-round pick, and one was not the first overall pick. And 10 teams passed on Patrick Mahomes before Kansas City had them fall in his lap.
Yeah, but Purdy is an enigma. You're talking about Bailey Zappi was drafted over him, Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell. All these guys was drafted over him. It was his durability in college. And if you watch him, and those who paid attention, he ran the ball in college too, right? He was a total package. The fact that he played Iowa State and he just didn't have the numbers like some of these other quarterbacks, everybody's like, he'll just be out of here early. But you got to give him his flowers.
Well, look, we got lots here. There's a great comparison between a guy that's made more money than any quarterback in the league, Patrick Mahomes, and a guy that's making less than $1 million a year. That's the rub on that. That's why going into this Super Bowl, you've got one guy who represents America, Brock Purdy, and another guy who represents Wall Street, and that's Patrick Mahomes. I can't wait.
America wishes they made it.
God, I wish this game was tonight. Coming up, Andy Reid spoke. We'll hear what I have to say after this.
When you take me by the hand, I feel better again. Oh, I feel better now.
Did you know most dish soaps don't remove all the grease, even with scrubbing?
What? I just cleaned those.
Try Dawn Platinum. It removes 99% of grease and food residue. That's why Dawn is trusted to save wildlife affected by oil. Dawn Platinum cleans to the squeak.
She found it. The feeling of finding the psoriasis treatment she's been looking for. Sotyktu is the first of its kind once-daily pill for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis for the chance at clear or almost clear skin. It's like the feeling of finding that outfit psoriasis tried to hide from you, or finding your swimsuit is ready for prime time. Dad, once daily Sotyktu is proven to get more people clearer skin than the leading pill. Don't take if you're allergic to Sotyktu. Serious reactions can occur. Sotyktu can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB. Serious infections, cancers including lymphoma, muscle problems, and changes in certain labs have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, liver or kidney problems, high triglycerides, or had a vaccine or plan to. Sotyktu is a TYK2 inhibitor. TYK2 is part of the JAK family. It's not known if Sotyktu has the same risks as JAK inhibitors. Find what plaque psoriasis has been hiding. Ask your dermatologist about Sotyktu for clearer skin. So clearly you. Sotyktu.
You'll never guess what we're doing to the Baconator. We're putting it...
pretzel bun? On the Baconator. Catherine, you seeing this?
Posters everywhere.
What?
Get the new Pretzel Baconator in the Wendy's app and get $3 off orders over $15.
I get to love you. It's the best thing that I'll ever do.
It's Kay's Valentine's Day Early Access Sale. Shop early and save on everything. Only at Kay.
Yeah! NASCAR is back on Fox. It starts this Sunday at 8, and then the big race, the Great American Race, February 18th. The Daytona 500 is on Fox. The cars go by and they go, meow, meow, meow. Just me and you, Craig.
I mean, we gotta have a soundboard at some point. Is there a button we can press like,
You're either in or you're out. I'm not doing it. He won't do the noise.
I'm not the only one. Me and Mark's in there too.
He's our guest. He's our guest. You live
Mark was
here.
here before me.
You live here.
He's a visitor.
He's our guest.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's that?
Yeah.
And there it goes.
You sound like a cat, a sad cat.
You're no fun.
Okay, I was washing my mouth.
Anyhow, welcome back to the Carton Show. How about the fact after the big Kansas City win over Baltimore, Donovan Smith walking into the locker room saw a TV screen with a picture of Baltimore Ravens star Roquan Smith. I don't think they're related.
No.
And Donovan was laying the thunder down at Roquan crying on TV. Watch this.
Oh, look, he's sad. Look at this sad ass. He's sad. He's sad. He's sad. Talking all that. He's sad. Hey, you go cry. My fault, my language.
There you go. He apologized for the language, all good. But yeah, and so for those of you that ever thought your players don't hear other guys chirping leading up to a game or obviously during a game, Mark was a notorious trash talker in Denver. You, of course, to this day, that's kind of on your business card, professional trash talker. Guys hear it.
Not only hear it, but I mean they're in the trenches together, right? So that's 4 quarters of them calling each other MFers, talking about each other's mamas, and on and on and on. So it's tough, man, because this is the time, especially after a tough game, where they this is the aftermath, right?
Yeah.
You realize, like, man, we lost it, and now you got the guys who won. You get to say, aha, look at you.
Who's the best trash talker you remember playing with or against?
Oh, probably Shannon Sharp.
There you go. Easy one. Easy one. There you go.
Was ridiculous.
Was there a guy that gave you the business back in the day?
That gave me the business?
Yeah.
Trash talking?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. There was a couple. Sean Smith. I don't know. He was an old defensive tackle. He played for. He's actually a Brooklyn guy, but he played for I think he played for the Chiefs as well. And he played for the Browns. He would just. Bart Scott probably top 2. Like, Bart would piss me off because I would forget what we were trash talking about. Because I get so worked in the game, I try not to mess up, and he'll see me talking about, what are we talking about? Like, what? It's the 4th quarter. Why are you still talking to me? And he would just be like, hey, you fat ass, or something like that. And like, oh, well, I know you're pulling, you're sitting on your heels, like something like that. And I'm trying to listen to the cadence, talk to Ben, try to do all the things I got to do to make this place successful. So.
There's a great story when the New York Jets had Boomer Esiason at quarterback. They played the Dolphins, first game of the season. That was the year that they're trying to get Marino and Don Shula one more crack at a Super Bowl. So they hired every named free agent in the business, right? So very first game, you've got a brand new offensive line for the New York Jets. You've got a rookie in Wayne Corbett wide left, okay? Wayne Corbett's staring at the sideline because, oh my God, that's Dan Marino. Like, I'm a Hofstra kid. That's Dan Marino. So first play of the game, Boomer's yelling out, it's dumb motion. And dumb motion is he raises his left leg, and the wide receiver comes in motion, right? But Wayne Corbett's looking over here.
Dan Marino.
He's like, that's Don Shula. That's Dan Marino. Oh, my God. So Boomer recognizes he's not watching the leg. So he goes, hey, Wayne, dumb motion. So he comes across the field. You've seen the video. Mad blitz. Boomer throws the ball backwards. Troy Vincent intercepts it. Takes it to the house. First play of the game. Touchdown, Miami. Come back next series. Same kind of crap. The entire offense is discombobulated. Brian Cox, middle linebacker, Miami Dolphins, comes up to the line of scrimmage, gets this close to Boomer and says, you the dumbest MFers I've ever seen. It's going to be a long day, Whitey. And it was.
It's a lot for us Hofstra guys, right? It's a lot.
I didn't say boo. I never said anything to anybody. Oh. I just kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to incite a riot, right? I didn't want to get guys pissed at me.
Yeah.
So I would actually do the opposite. I'd pour honey on you. I'd be like, oh, dude, you're playing.
Those are the guys I hated. Those are the guys I hated.
You are playing great.
Oh,
the next thing you know, you're all stuck in your own honey, right? You're like, I'm kicking your ass. You don't even realize it. That was
because before the game, mentally you get so worked up. You're thinking about all the trauma and all the issues you've been through in your life. You're like, man, this guy in front of me is going to get all that. And then the first, like, hey, man, you're doing a hell of a job. That happened to me. I never forget. My second start in the league was against Big Sam Adams. Remember Big Sam Adams?
Sure.
Sam Adams was a mountain of a man. Yeah. Huge man. And he was playing for the Bengals at the time. It's my second start. We had just lost to Baltimore. And we were playing. It was playing the Bengals. And my first snap against him, and I kind of, and Russ Grimm, we were just talking about Russ Grimm. He's our O-line coach, and he's one of the original Hogs, and he was just like, man, this is a big man now. You got to, like, ain't there going to be no help over here. You got to handle him, right? So I'm getting worked up, and I lock him down. I get a good base block, and I kind of move him a little bit. Right after the play, he goes, man, you're doing a hell of a job. And he goes, I'm going to be honest. He's like, I haven't seen technique like that in a while, man. You keep that up, right? And so this goes on all game, and it was like a 4th and 1. He bull rushed me so hard through my chest. I felt this power in my backbone, right? And I was just like, well, I'm doing that sweet stuff. He's like, you still doing a good job, guy. And I was just like, but so I got stuck in
the other thing, because we used to, we were known for cutting people on the backside. Very first play of the game, I'd always be like, hey, boys, watch your legs. Watch it, right? And you would get guys that would just be so, they would be so intent on not getting cut that they're not worried about making plays. And so you would cut a dude, and he'd be up, hitting you in the back of the helmet like, oh, that's going to hurt. Right? I got nothing but rocks up here anyway. And meanwhile, the running back's cutting right back for 15, 20 yards. They're not even worried about making a tackle. They're so busy trying to give you the business. So
you see Terrell Davis all the way down the field?
Touchdown.
That's it. All right, we'll reminisce more with the guys, obviously, all week long. But now there's something we call First and Football with Jacoby.
Starting First in Football, we have an interesting update from the Chiefs head coach Andy Reid about Kadarius Toney. Oh. Remember, Kadarius Toney was out for personal reasons and an injury. Here's what Andy Reid had to say.
Obviously he's been on the injury report, so I mean, I got that part as that's not made up by any means, but he's been working through some things, and he'll be back out there.
No one knows what's going on with Kadarius Toney, right? He went on Instagram and said that he was not hurt. He was out for personal reasons. Maybe he had a child. Remember, he contributed in the Super Bowl last year. Do you expect him to be on the field this year?
No, and this is Andy Reid's tough love. This is Andy Reid saying, we don't trust you on the field. We all appreciate you have this amazing God-given talent that when you do get the ball, you're very hard to tackle and bring down, and that's why we brought you back here, right? But the reality is that it's still a meritocracy. You don't get just to be on the field because you want to be, right? It's still a privilege. It's not a right. And I think this is Andy Reid, and you're not going to question him because he's won so many Super Bowls. And this is Patrick Mahomes saying, Coach, I don't trust the guy. Why don't you trust him? Because he drops the ball. It's not about even getting open. It's about a guy that obviously cost you against the Bills with the offsides. It's about a guy that is an issue off the field and has been his entire career. He's a distraction off the field, and he never stays healthy. Usually it's his hamstring. Now I guess it's his ankle, his foot, whatever it is. But they're done with him. And rather than totally embarrass him and cut him, before you go to the playoffs and now a Super Bowl, he's on the roster. You have to at least account for him in your game planning. But I'd be surprised if he plays, because the one thing you know about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, we'll figure it out without you. And they've proven that again this year with all these road playoff wins. And if the quarterback doesn't trust you, I can't put you on the field.
Well, I think one of the misnomers, and I hear this all the time. Availability is the best ability.
Yes, yeah.
Like I think responsibility. As a football team, responsibility is the best ability. Mm-hmm. Like if we're talking abilities, like that's the number one ability, right? Responsibility. Yeah. Take responsibility. And your hands are made of feet. Like that, like I mean, what you want to play? I'm healthy now, right? Maybe you had a hand transplant,
maybe not,
because like that dude can't catch the ball, and that's what you have to have. You have to have the responsibility to say, "Hey, I haven't been good enough. I'm going to fix that part of my game," and he hasn't done that.
Matter of fact, you could make the argument the only guy that can stop Patrick Mahomes is Kadarius Toney.
Right, yeah. It's just the receivers, the drops to the receivers has been a weakness of this team the entire season. We talked about it all season long. They finally got it together the last couple of games. MBS has had 2 big catches. Rashee Rice established himself as number 1. Why mix that up? They finally have turned a weakness into a strength. Why sort of
the only thing I would counter that, and you're right about those 2 guys particularly, obviously they've played much better in the last couple games than they did throughout the regular season. The Kansas City Chiefs have still gotten through the playoffs. There's a little hocus pocus in there too. They scored 17 points, right? They didn't score 40 points against the Baltimore Ravens. They got shut out for the second half of football there. But they know how to win. The Buffalo game. Obviously we talked about that whole week. If Josh Allen throws the ball a couple yards further down the field to Sri Lanka, it's a touchdown. If he hits Stephon Diggs coming across the middle, it's a better shot at the field goal, if not a touchdown, a couple plays later. So Kansas City, more than any team, knows how to win. And I'm with you on that. And I think what Jacoby's saying is, right now, it feels right. Why would you mess that up by bringing a guy in that makes it feel wrong?
But he's salty because it's like when your class goes on a school trip without you, they come back with all the toys and T-shirts.
Sure, he still
and
gets
you're left
the
at home. But at the end of the day, he looks at look at the receiver Watson who's starting to get reps. You look up at Checo, you look at Kelsey, you look at MBS. All those guys, to your point, are responsible and they're trustworthy. So if you're Kadarius Toney, you're like, dog, I may not suit up again the way this outfit looks.
Yeah, and I do want to congratulate Tyreek Hill on having another baby.
Oh man, yeah,
that's fantastic. Because that was the personal side of the Kadarius Toney thing, that he had a baby, and Tyreek is really getting the job done.
Doing a great job.
What else you got?
Moving on to second-hand football. Let's talk about Jared Goff and the Lions, fresh off the devastating loss to the Niners. And remember, Jared Goff has 1 year left on his contract. He was asked if they would make a new deal, restructure, stay with the Lions. And here's what the quarterback of the Lions had to say.
My future is not up to me. I love this place, and we'll see what happens as time goes on here. But yeah, I love this place, and love Dan, love all the coaches, love all my teammates, and it's not out of my hands in some ways. It's up to my representatives and obviously the people upstairs.
It does feel like for a team that just was up by 17 and lost a chance to go to the Super Bowl, the vibes are very good in Detroit. Do you expect them to re-sign Jared Goff this offseason?
Well, he's got 1 year left on the deal, right? He makes a lot of money, made a lot of money. But if you're the Detroit Lions, you got no choice, because you have right now what 2/3 of the league is dying to find, and that is a legitimate starting quarterback and a franchise quarterback. Plus, he also has a hot fiance. So why wouldn't you want her around, the complex and all the girls that she brings for the other guys to the complex? It just makes the locker room a good place.
Yeah.
Right? Because, my brother. That kind of thing. Look, the Detroit Lions, here's the rub they're in. They need to have Jared Goff sign there. You don't want to bring him back lame duck. So Minnesota did that. Alex Smith went through that a lot of years in his career. And I don't think that ever bodes well for long-term success. The issue, though, is that none of us feel, all due respect to how great he has played in the last 2 years in Detroit, is Jared Goff a $200 million quarterback? And are you going to commit that type of money to him, recognizing that as soon as you do it, you're going to lose someone else, and you may not be able to sign a particular free agent you might covet? San Fran's going to have the same issue in a couple of years, if not next year, with Brock Purdy. So I think you have to bring him back. He wants to stay there. Why wouldn't he? Just won a division title and went to an NFC Championship game. But what's the right number to bring him back?
Well, I would tell you this. Like, I hate the whole salary cap thing. It's fungible. You can move it around. You can make it work out. True. He's a top 10 quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. And that guy absolutely destroys people in the middle of the football field. There is not a tighter, like that guy will throw it in as tight a window as you want. He absolutely dominates the middle of the football field throwing the football. They are a great football team. There is no question. And he is a great quarterback. So, you got to sign him, and then you got to manipulate it. It's always one of those things, Willie, you've been there. Oh, hey, we're up against the cap. We can't sign. That means they just don't want you.
You could sign. You could sign everybody, and you could figure it out, be creative, with the accounting part of it. I'm just saying to myself, am I giving Jared Goff 5 years, $200 million? Right?
Well, if you're an investor, also understand you have to invest in a new office coordinator, because the one that they have right now is probably going to be out the door. So they have to go hand in hand. So it's a big.
Look, if you had said to anyone 3 years ago,
then you do a marketing deal with her, and that way you split. That doesn't count. It doesn't count against the cap.
I like that. They're not married yet, though. They're not married yet.
Okay.
And if we learned anything from the recent signing that the Miami Heat did with Spoelstra, wait till the guy gets divorced before you give him the big money. We all know that. That's just a rule. Okay. That's not a rule. I was under the impression that was a rule, but apparently I was wrong. Signed a $100 million extension the day after he got divorced. He's not stupid.
Coincidence.
All right, Christian, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you coming up. Yeah, but and Kyle Shanahan talking about Brock Purdy, but an aspect of his game nobody knew he had. That's coming up right after this.
You know that feeling of having to rewash dishes that didn't get cleaned? I don't. Cascade Platinum Plus has me doing dishes differently.
Scrub? Soak? Nope. I just scrape, load, and I'm done.
Platinum Plus is Cascade's best clean ever. With double the Dawn and double the scrubbers, it removes the toughest grease and food residue for an irresistible clean and shine.
Rewash? Not in my house.
Upgrade to Cascade Platinum Plus. Dare to dish differently.
I told myself I was okay with my moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis symptoms.
With my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. But just okay isn't okay.
And I was done settling.
If you still have symptoms after a TNF blocker like Humira or Enbrel, Rinvoq is different and may help. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that can rapidly relieve joint pain, stiffness, and swelling in RA and PSA, relieve fatigue for some, and stop joint damage. And in PSA, can leave skin clear or almost clear.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin, heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Done settling?
Ask your rheumatologist for Rinvoq.
And take back what's yours.
AbbVie could help you save.
Wendy's breakfast 2 for $3 is so good, the crew is giving every combination code names.
Bis squared.
Egg and cheese biscuit and sausage biscuit. 2 biscuits. I'm impressed Tyler knew what squaring was.
Mathlete.
No matter what you call it, choose wisely. Choose Wendy's breakfast 2 for $3.
Hey, get ready for the Super Bowl, and of course, Brock the Machine Purdy. Look at him using those legs like he's Lamar Jackson, or maybe Josh Allen, or you pick your favorite girlfriend, Targeted. Go old school, why not? Anyhow, Kyle Shanahan talked about how he did what we all know he did, helped win a game with his legs. Here's Kyle Shanahan, talk to the coach. Go ahead.
I thought it was the difference between winning and losing. He made some big plays with his legs, getting out of the pocket, moving the chains in some first downs, getting some explosives. He competed his ass off today, and it wasn't easy for any of us, but he kept grinding and was unbelievable there in the second half.
He is being hailed as his generation's Mike Vick.
No.
After that, yeah, that's people, many people out there. Many people are saying, why buy soup, that he's this generation's Mike Vick, or Randall Cunningham. I heard that.
White Mike Vick.
Oh, really?
Randall? White Mike Vick, I'll say it.
Okay.
Anyhow, it's always interesting to me when coaches seem surprised at the ability of guys that they drafted and signed and pay money to, like the running game that he showed he has the ability to do, off script, as you like to say, Mark, that they seemed kind of surprised that he was able to do it so successfully.
I mean, that's his rushing career right there.
Yeah.
You tell 2.6 yards average. I mean, the bottom line, the guy came out of second half determined, right? And I like what Fred Warner said, what was said at halftime. It was no need for rah-rah, right? It was just like, hey, we got to get it done. We got 30 minutes to go figure this out, and they did so. And it was him playing instinct football and really saying, look, even a 10-yard scamper that set up go ahead field goal, like that's him, right? A lot of it was him just being a football player. Because as much as we like to talk about him being a system, he turned into a football player. Give me the damn ball, and I'm going to win this game.
But not just this, he's a 23-year-old kid? You find me a 23-year-old professional athlete that can't run, and I'll tell you a guy that can't play sports, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I think it's more than that. I think it's understanding. Like, when you sit and talk to Brock Purdy, that dude understands where everybody on the football field is on every single play. So he's got this diagram in his mind of where everybody is, and you saw something even more imperative to me than his ability to scramble and his ability to run. That was his ability to feel the pocket, to understand where the rushers were, to avoid those guys inside that pocket, and then find an escape lane. And the difference between what he did in Lamar, once that pocket broke down, or once he just looked down at it. He's like, oh, where am I going to go? Brock Purdy felt it, and his footwork was unbelievable, and then his speed, I think, was a little bit
So
shocking.
let me
for
ask
all
you
of us.
the obvious question that America's asking each other when they go to work today. Is Brock Purdy the second coming of Montana, or is it more Brady? Yeah, that's what most Americans are discussing
Most Americans
today.
are. What about?
Is he more like, oh, that looks like Tom Brady in his prime?
I would just say,
or does that look more like Joe Montana or Steve Young? I don't know.
I think Steve Young is probably the closest.
More Steve Young.
Yeah, I see Steve Young.
That's who you're seeing it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know,
what was surprising about the way that he was running against the Lions is he did against the Packers too in that drive. Like he's done it in the last 2 playoffs games, the only 2 he's had this year. He's made game-changing plays at the end of the game with his legs. And just run the B-roll one more time, because I swear to God, he scores if Debo doesn't tackle him in this first one. Like, he scores. He's going so fast, he lowers the shoulder into Debo.
No, he gets tackled.
You can't stop that kind of
I'm
crazy
sure
thing.
they discussed that over dinner last night, too. Like, hey, if you could get out of the way, I might have scored there myself, big fella. All right, time now for the little segment we like to call, Yeah! But! All right, here we go. Mark, play along here, okay?
Play along, Mark.
Help me out back there in the studio audience as well. Yeah!
Yep.
The Kansas City Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl. And they've got Patrick Mahomes, but they've never seen the likes of a Brock Purdy before.
I think they're okay.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I don't think they're tripping over Purdy at all. I think, in fact, if Purdy continues to start the first half the way he's been starting the last 2 weeks, the game will be over.
Highest winning percentage of any quarterback they've ever met in the playoffs. How about that? How about that? Silence. Look at that. See that? Did you hear that silence
I don't
right there?
understand the stat. Highest winning percentage
for me.
in the playoffs.
Yeah, of all the quarterbacks that Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City have beaten in this great 5-6 year run, Brock Purdy has the best winning percentage than anyone they've ever played against. They're going up against something they've never seen.
Is it 5 games?
What happened?
Is 5 games? Like, it's a fairly small sample size.
Again, facts, stats,
Right.
numbers
don't matter. Don't let those get in the way. Don't let those get in the way.
Just go with it. All right, number 2, here we go. Yeah!
I like that.
The Ravens were the 1 seed, and they've got the obvious MVP, but Joe Burrow's coming back next year.
Yeah.
Goodbye, window.
That's a bad man, too. You know he's going to be motivated, especially coming off that calf. You know, a lot of people was talking about him, not being injury prone, not being able to finish seasons. Now you're talking about a guy right now who's going to be playing pissed off. You're getting pissed off Joe Burrow next year.
Deshaun Watson will be back, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers picked up a quarterback either. So they could be facing legitimately 3 new quarterbacks in the division that they'll be facing this year.
Yes.
I take personal credit for Joe Burrow's success.
How's that?
Because I prayed for his tiny hands. Yeah, I did. I prayed
Kenny Pickett needs some help. Kenny Pickett needs some help.
I prayed for his tiny hands, and look at the success he's had.
Why you didn't pray for Kenny
what happened
Pickett?
to Kenny Pickett?
You a Steelers fan?
He didn't ask for it. He didn't ask for it. Joe Burrow asked for prayers for his tiny hands, and I did it, and I've taken credit
See that?
for it.
See how God
Thank
delivers?
you for that.
Yes.
He went right there.
Kenny, call Mark.
Nah, Kenny needs St. Jude. That's the patron saint of lost causes is what that is right there. I used to think that I had the smallest hands in the world. And then I just realized that I was just really big somewhere else.
Oh, there you go. There you go, Dad joke.
No. All right, never mind. Yeah! They haven't won a title since 1973. And they probably aren't going to win one this year either.
What?
But the New York Knicks are 13-2 in January.
Yes.
They are now the 4 seed, and the 3 seed comes next. Go New York, go New York, go. Oh, go New York, go New York, go.
Yeah, I haven't felt this excited since Riley's Knicks in the early 90s. So, I don't know, man. I'm just enjoying the ride. We'll see what happens when we get to the playoffs.
They're just laying the foundation. This year is a foundation-laying year. A foundation-laying year.
With them just not getting to
they have a lot of draft assets. They're not going to the championships this year. They're not going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. But this is the year they audition for the free agents they're going to pick up this offseason. Next year's the championship.
We've been in a 40-year audition.
Next year's
been a while.
Have you gotten to the point where you're just okay with this? You're just okay with getting to the playoffs?
Oh, if you win a round of the playoffs,
have you been around one
round in the playoffs?
It's like Marty.
It's over.
You also have not yet established your fandom on this show. You grew up in the Boston area.
Big Larry
so if
Bird
you're a
fan.
Celtic fan, I get that. You're a Bills fan in football.
Yeah,
who
so
are
we've
you?
never discussed on the show.
You're an implant.
I'm only loyal to my wife and my family. Everything else is up for grabs. Everything else is up for grabs.
Okay.
I root for the Knicks. I root for the Knicks.
So you've walked away from your childhood team?
He's walked away from
multiple
Larry
times.
Bird.
Yeah,
How about
yeah.
that?
Wow, from Bird.
And to a hated rival.
Larry Bird also walked away from the Celtics.
All right, here we go. Yeah! The Chiefs are headed to their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. And yeah! They still have Patrick Mahomes, of course, and Andy Reid. But how about this? The Ravens have better Super Bowl odds for next year already.
Really?
Yeah. Look at that.
Wow.
Look at your Kansas City Chiefs being disrespected for next year's Super Bowl. Super Bowl 59 on Fox in New Orleans next year.
That's rumors. Rumors.
Rumors what?
Rumors that Kelsey may be hanging out.
Andy
Reid.
That Andy may be walking away.
That's right.
That's what that reflects.
Meaning that Fox will have the first Super Bowl that Bill Belichick coaches for the Kansas City Chiefs.
How
about that? You heard what I just said.
Yeah, I did hear what you just said.
And you didn't argue with me, meaning
No.
you're hearing the same thing. I like it.
Bill to KC?
Yes.
Is that real?
If Andy Reid retires, and there's no word that he's going to, but let's just play it out. They win, they lose, whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's 60 years old, all right? He's like, I'm done. I want to go enjoy cruises with my wife. He's had a lot of family issues, unfortunately, away from the field. If you're going to bring somebody in to keep the winning going, the guy's sitting right
Bring in
there.
someone older than Andy Reid.
Yes, exactly right. And the first thing he'll do is cut Kadarius Toney.
Right.
Do I have time for one more here?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. He won 3 Super Bowls. And he did it with 2 different teams. But you can never count on Mark Schlereth to stay healthy.
Oh, that's unfair, Craig.
What are we doing?
So hard.
What are we doing?
Listen, man.
Yeah.
29's left surgeries.
29 surgeries, 15 on his left knee. I mean, the guy just,
Look at man.
He's a bulldog.
All I did was play. 97 100 games.
He's a war daddy,
7
man.
games. 29
Guys like
surgeries
that
was 7 games.
In the offensive line fraternity, we celebrate guys like that.
Yeah.
I had surgery on a Sunday night.
Go ahead.
Late Sunday night.
Yep.
Got out of surgery at about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Checked myself out of the hospital 11 o'clock the next day. Drove to the stadium and beat the Raiders 27-0.
There he is. Mark Schlereth.
On Monday night.
It sounded like you escaped the
guy you
hospital.
want.
Like you said, check myself out. That's how that works.
And invented load management for linemen. So I
I didn't practice a lot. I just played the game.
He was the Plaxico Burress of linemen. He's like, I ain't practicing today, Coach, but I'll see you on Sunday.
Talk about practice.
All right, anyhow, that was fun. Good stuff on that. Coming up, we got your mid-show headlines, and a little bit after that, your weekly winners and losers. Mahomes, the villain we all love.
When you smell the amazing scent of Gain Flings, time stops. Your heart races. Your eyes close. And you realize you're in love.
Steve!
With a laundry detergent. Gain Flings. Seriously good scent. And 50% more fresh. Now that's love at first sniff.
Nothing scary about Energizer Ultimate Lithium, the #1 longest-lasting AA battery.
Shop the sweetest steals of the season at Zales. Book an appointment with a jewelry expert online or in your local store to find the perfect gift today. At Zales.
When your hotel room is your bedroom, and your living room, and your dining room, maybe you need more than a hotel room. Get an Airbnb and get more space.
Good morning, welcome back to the Carton Show. We have your early morning headlines, and we start with that man, Patrick Mahomes. They have been to the Super Bowl 5 of the last 6 years.
No way.
It feels inevitable at this point, and I'm starting not to like it a little bit, Craig. Is Mahomes and the Chiefs becoming sort of the next villain in the NFL?
Well, we need villains in sports. It's what makes sports special, like the team that you love and root for, and then who's the hated rival, right? And that's what makes sports special. If you didn't dislike teams, then we wouldn't have the same passion for the teams we do like. Here's the problem with it. You can't dislike Andy Reid. He looks like everyone's favorite uncle or grandfather, right? Right. He looks like Santa Claus, and nobody dislikes Santa Claus. Patrick Mahomes, I got to be honest, I want to hate him. I'm trying to find a reason to hate the guy, and I can't hate him. Right? I even like the house he built, and it's a house I could never afford with his own golf course in the backyard. So I do think if you go to Buffalo, they hate him, and they hate Kansas City. If you go to Cincinnati, intrinsic hatred for everything that Kansas City does. But for the rest of us, whether you're a Bronco fan who has every reason to hate him because he's in your division, whether it's like me and Willie, you're Jet fans, and they represent something you've never seen, which is competent football, maybe ever, for our organization, it's easy to want to hate him. And I want to have that villain, but I got to be honest, I don't. Patrick Mahomes might be the most likable rock star in the history of sports. I want to make fun of his voice. I can. I want to make fun of his wife. You don't. I want to make fun of his stupid brother. You don't. I just love that guy, and I'm jealous that Kansas City gets him for his entire career.
Most of the time, when a guy has greatness, like we like to hate that dude, but there's something special about him, and I think it really is the way he plays. I think we see the greatness, and we recognize the greatness. And you just watch him. I mean, just in this championship game here, I mean, they're running a little sprint right option, right? They want to get to this stick route right down on the bottom. The corner comes down, takes it away. All of a sudden, you go, okay, where's my tight end? I know where this guy is. Yep. You watch that throw. You watch the accuracy of that throw. And that's something we have grown so accustomed to. It is so good. Yeah. And I think at times you just forget how good this dude is when your ability to get all the way to the backside, that's the third option of the route, and to make this throw, sidearm, at that angle, in that window, I mean, that's throwing it inside a milk carton. Yeah. And he does the sublime on a daily basis that is, it's head-scratching. Most guys can't do that, and he makes it look simple. And I marvel. I mean, I'll celebrate greatness. And this dude is the best quarterback that we have watched in this league since obviously Brady was winning all the Super Bowls.
Yeah, but Brady did it differently, right?
Right.
And not that there's two ways, obviously, to cook the same chicken, and they've both done it. But I think Jacoby had a good comparison earlier today. For those of you that are just tuning in, the Golden State Warriors in their heyday, in their championship runs, it was easy to hate Draymond Green. He invited it, and he wanted it. It's easy to not like Travis Kelce. He invites it. He wants it. But nobody dislikes Steph Curry. Nobody dislikes Patrick Mahomes. Right. They're different. Like Michael Jordan is an interesting comparison as well. I'm a diehard Knicks fan. Michael Jordan prevented me from ever getting to
I still hate
a championship.
I love his sneakers.
And yet, I don't hate Michael Jordan. Like, it's weird that there's only a select handful of guys that are like
what's
that.
Interesting about Steph is that Steph changed the way the NBA operates, right? Now you look at Steph and you're like, dude, those shots that he makes, like he's small, like maybe I could one day become that sharpshooter. Maybe I could. He's changed the way we look at the NBA, where it was a center-dominated league.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
But Mahomes, what he does is so unique in the way he throws the ball, the angles that he changes, the launch points, all the different things, the accuracy that he has. And I think that is one of those things that everybody aspires to in the league.
But you can't. Like, you can't replicate what he does. He's a one of one.
And I also felt, I think what kind of won me over, and I was not a fan of him. I hated his brother. I hated his whole thing. I even hated his commercials at one point, right? But I think when this team was really going through a muck, when he couldn't trust his receiving corps, when things looked like they were kind of falling by the wayside, he never sold his guys out. He didn't point the finger. He was just like, man, we're going to work through it. We're going to work through it. Even when he realized I have to now take practice reps within Rashid Rice. Like him and Rashid Rice were going to another field, working on reps, trusted each other. And it came through towards the back end of the season. So I fell in love with him because he became a leader right before our eyes.
Yeah.
Not that he never
He also didn't rest on his laurels. He puts the work in.
Exactly.
Right? And all the great ones do. I mean,
Plus, in my head, he's got a soundtrack. Sesame Street. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sound. Every time I see him, that's the soundtrack that goes through my head.
I thought you're more of a Fraggle Rock guy. Okay, I'm with you on that.
Did you guys see the video of his dad after the game?
Smoking a cigar?
His dad's got a cigar.
Yeah.
He's talking
That's
trash.
my boy.
He's so lovable. I was like, oh, man. Like, not even his dad is awesome,
Dad's like,
too.
I made him.
It's so hard to hate
That's
it.
exactly what he said.
The best line from Patrick Mahomes Sr. Is when they asked him where he was sitting, he said, hopefully far away from Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I love that. That's the guy keeping it real. Played for the Mets, too. That's right.
Oh.
Just putting it out there like as if you guys
Twins,
didn't know
right?
that.
Mets and Twins, right?
Moving on to our second headline and turn our attention to the NFC Championship game where Niners edge rusher Nick Bosa was asked about his quarterback, Brock Purdy, and the way he plays. And he addressed some of us in the media, namely Willie and I. Quote, I don't pay attention to the media much, but whoever is talking bleep about Brock Purdy, what do you have now?
I'll start with you, Willie. Go right ahead. What do you got now, Biggs?
Right now?
Right now.
Right now.
Right now. Right now.
You talking about right now?
Right now.
I got nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, listen, to me, I think you talk about, we said it earlier, back-to-back weeks where he pretty much willed his team to victory. And I think what he's done overall, and Mark's hit it right on his head, like, he just has a feel for the game. I think a lot of times you want to talk about Kittle, some of those pieces, especially with Debo, those guys pop up tape, obviously, but it's him really deciding, hey, man, I'm going to be the most determined football player on this field, willing his team to victory with his feet, and then making great decisions with the football when it counts the most. So, for me, I don't have much to say. Now you got to go win it.
Yeah, well, you look at, I mean, even going into last week, the first throw of the second half. Okay, you're down 17. You haven't played well as an offense. And here's the first throw. You're in west-right slot. Okay, two tight end formation. Flip your hips, flip your head. You're running a dagger concept. So you're running a through route inside and a dig on the backside of that. Look at the hole that he throws this in. I mean, this is the first play or the second play of the third quarter, the first throw of the third quarter, and you're throwing into a window on this dagger route in zone where there are 5 dudes in that hole.
Yeah.
Perfectly protected, flip your hips, hand that ball off or fake that handoff. You've got Ayuk running the through route to take away the safety. But look at that window. Look at those guys. He consistently drives the football into unbelievable windows. He knows exactly where he wants to go with the football. And there's a guy that struggled the whole first half, and that's the kind of faith and trust that the Niners have and Kyle Shanahan has in the guy pulling the trigger for the 49ers.
First off, when do we get the new technology that lets us put things on
First time
screen
I've
like
seen that all year.
I haven't seen that ever.
Mark gets here.
It's like Schlereth shows up all of a sudden. We've got a technical director on the show.
I built that.
Now, if I may,
they don't have that. They don't have that technology. I do that.
If I may,
yeah.
In layman's terms, this is what I heard. That dude can sling the rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I heard.
That's exactly what I'm telling you.
What you're talking about, down 17, that's not an easy little screen pass or, what we'd call in the street like a button hook and a guy's wide open. That's a guy throwing the ball 20 yards down the field in the middle of the field where your receiver's surrounded, as you pointed out, by 5 defenders and anything other than a perfect throw. And that ball's getting intercepted.
It's a 2-man route because, it's a 3-man route late because McCaffrey come out on the check down off the handoff because it's a play pass. So he'll come out there and he'll get in the flat. But just your ability to flip your hips, to get your head around, to know exactly where you want to go with the football. And they are playing zone. So they've got 4 underneath, 3 deep. Zone. They're in a cover 3, and they're rolling in there.
If you don't have a strong arm there, that ball's going the other way.
If you're not on time with the football, that's the biggest thing.
It's the timing.
It's the timing of that and knowing exactly what you want to do.
Because he has to drop that back foot and fire it. He holds that 1 second, it's over.
Yeah.
So
they'll get that.
And here's the best part of that. That's a quarterback that's down 17 points at home.
And they've had a terrible first half.
That's right. And that's a quarterback coming out of the gate going.
Craig,
you said against Green Bay, that last drive,
that's right.
Like he was just like, I got this.
He's become, a kicker said this earlier this year, he's the arsonist that gets credit for putting out the fire. Like, he has had these second halves that have been amazing, but all the problems and them being down is because of his play in the first half. So is it fair to criticize Purdy? Yes, but you're reaching further and further every week.
I think the Packers story is more the arsonist thing there. Yeah. I think this game was a little different because their defense just did a terrible job.
Honestly, I did the last 2 games of the season, the Niners games, so I dug into about 6 games breakdown of their defense. These are the 2 worst games I've seen their defense play all year, and I mean by a long shot.
The Green Bay game, and then this past
week. Yes, it's been an embarrassment. And you think about their coordinator, Steve Wilks. He comes in there, right? He doesn't bring one assistant with him. He becomes the new coordinator. He doesn't bring one assistant. He learns their defense. It's not his defense, it's their defense. Right. Yeah. And so now all of a sudden they haven't had any adversity over the course of the season for the most part, right? Now you get in the playoffs and you've got some adversity. I mean, how apt are you to change what you're doing, adjust what you're doing? And yet they've done that. They did that in the second half. They created opportunities for themselves. They got them in 3rd and long situations by winning on 1st down. You got to give them a lot of credit, but they played poorly.
Watching that game, it's funny you bring up Wilks. Because midway through the year, Wilks got thrown right under the bus, and Shanahan backed it up, and then went forward, and then double-checked the body, and backed it up again, just to be sure. And every time that Detroit had a good player, scored a touchdown, and the camera went right on Wilks, I'm like, oh, I know who that guy is.
No, we talked about it.
That's the scapegoat right there.
After that 3-game skid they took, we talked about it. We was like, man, Wilks may be out of a job.
Yes.
Like we thought his job was literally in question. And in the game against Detroit, we talked about they had to get out of character. They had to figure out how to get to golf because usually they play man. They try to get home with their 4. But really say, we're going to start sending Greenlaw. We're going to start sending blitzes to get after golf and do a good job against the run. And they rallied in the second half.
It's a great second half adjustment by Wilks sending people. Moving on to our final headline. Now let's talk about Brock Purdy some more. Let's talk about the financial aspects of Brock Purdy. Deshaun Watson's annual salary, Joe Burrow's is $55 million this year.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy made $870,000.
Take your time. $870,000.
There you
go.
It works.
And the question here is, he's going to get paid eventually, not next year, but the year after that. Does that put extra pressure on the 49ers to win now to take advantage of his low salary in the cap?
Well, I mean, as long as you bring him back, no. But obviously there's pressure on them now because, you don't want to be that team that gets right there and you're knocking on the door but can't get through it. Right, because people remember that. Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills, we all talk about that great 4-year run, but they have nothing to show for it. Yep. They don't wear rings out, championship rings. You keep those in the jewelry box in the house because nobody wants to see them because it means you lost in the Super Bowl. Look,
I don't know anything about that, losing the Super Bowl.
My guy right there. And he leaves his rings there, too, because he knows I would take one of them. That being the case, I think what Mark said's right. We pay a lot of time talking about salaries and salary caps and can you fit this guy and that guy. The bottom line is this. If you want to make it work, you make it work. That goes on the player side and on the team side. You can be very creative. I will say this. They only have about an 18-month window, though, to win before that guy gets paid big money. Yep. And once that guy does get the $20, $30 million a year contract, you now do have to be creative with other guys. Like Brandon Ayuk is getting a contract after this year. All right, that means that Brock Purdy might not be. And then the question is, if you're Brock Purdy, do you believe in the concept of home team discount in your second year?
Doesn't
exist. The right answer.
No.
Like if I take my team to back-to-back NFC Championship games, and in that second one, I also go to a Super Bowl. That's what he's done. If I win the Super Bowl, why in the world do you think I'm playing for $800,000 next year?
Craig, we're talking about this man sleeping with a roommate, right? He has a roommate. This guy needs to be paid. He comes from not humble beginnings, but he's a hard worker.
But could you imagine him holding out next year?
No.
And by the way, he should if he wins the Super Bowl.
So that's a real good question.
Right?
And will he be judged if
because remember, the image is, it's the Midwestern kid, girlfriend's family has the farm, he's working it, during the bye week, humble kid, God-fearing family. They go to church, every week, and all the things you aspire, for your kids to be and for your daughters to marry. Guy like that, right?
Yeah, right.
If he comes out after the Super Bowl run and his agents say, Brock Purdy's not playing without a new contract, that does throw some daggers
He'd be
in
a
the person.
fool not to. If he just wins the Super Bowl and he's contract extension eligible, he'd be a fool not to hold
Well,
out.
look, he's got to wait a full year to sign it anyway. But the notion is, what do you do to make it right?
In those situations, the organization, if they're smart, that's where you get the discount. Yeah, like it's better to sign a dude a year or two early because then you can say, hey, listen, here is found money for you that you wouldn't get, and you'll never make, you know how this is, you'll never make money back in the NFL because simply the odds are it's not if you get hurt, it's 100% guarantee that you will get hurt.
For sure.
And things are going to happen that way, so you can't make money back. So, yeah, they'd be foolish not to sign him to a long-term deal. He'll make more money from John Deere next year because I think he's going to have a deal with John Deere.
Well, if you're handing out John Deere deals, add me to the list.
Well, I would like one, too. One of them Gators.
All right, before we take a quick break, time now for a one NBA thing. We've not forgotten the NBA season's almost halfway through. Got to hand it to Doc Rivers. Stabs his best friend in the back, steals his job, and then loses his first game as head coach.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Doc. If you're going to steal the show, you got to win the show, too. But it's against the Joker, so who knows? You know?
Yes, and the Nuggets are coming off a couple bad games as well. I mean, the Knicks beat them by 40 a couple days ago. But that's what Doc Rivers does.
That was a Ruby Slipper game, by the way.
It wasn't?
Oh, really?
There's no place like home. We were on the road for 11 days. The Ruby Slipper, click them. They didn't even show up. They just wanted to go home.
And I know what they were doing the night before they played the New York Knicks because they were in New York City.
Yes.
Yes. All right, we got to take a quick break. Interesting question for you as a fan. Would you rather have your team eliminated before the playoffs start and deal with that reality, or would you rather the heartbreak of losing a championship game the way the Detroit Lions did and the way the Baltimore Ravens did? That, and of course, it's our weekly rundown. Winners and losers.
I get to love you.
It's Kay's Valentine's Day Early Access Sale. Shop early and save on everything. Only at Kay.
Marathon knows that fans are the true co-pilot of any team. Through the good and the bad, you support your team through every season. So for every grill master, all-star athlete, and face paint fixer, know that Marathon is here to keep you and your team fueled on and off the field. Wherever the game takes you, Marathon is by your side because we're driven together.
Little Caesar slices and sticks with half bacon cheese sticks, half pepperoni pizza is the world's greatest combination. Carl?
What are you doing here? You're picking up for a friend, right?
I'm sorry, PB&J. Here, try some for yourself.
How dare you?
Order online to try slices and sticks with bacon or jalapeno for $7.99.
Pizza.
Neither snow-capped mountains nor puddles of water, nor unexpected detours with a 20-foot drainage pipe can stop the ruggedly capable Telluride X Pro from getting you to your dinner reservation on time.
Okay.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Hey, good news. Yesterday's podcast featuring Mark Schlereth came in 943rd place.
Big bump. Big bump.
Nice. Pretty good
Schlereth
about
effect,
that.
they call that. The Schlereth effect.
That's right.
The weekend podcast came in second place. So work to do this week. Work to do. But great to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Pick it up.
For the rest of the week. Which is, hey, real quick factoid you guys may like when you go to work today. There's not a single Alabama player playing in the Super Bowl this year. And how about this? In the history of the Super Bowl, no college player that finished his college career at Alabama has ever scored a point in a Super Bowl. For all the greatness that Alabama brings to the table, they are on the outside looking in when it comes to Super Bowl success. Yeah, eat it. Trust me. Don't question it. Just go with it. It's like Duke basketball players suck in the NBA mostly. Just go with it, accept it, embrace it, tongue kiss it, Slurp it. Weird but true.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
Who knew?
You'll lose that argument. Don't start.
I'm just saying, Jalen Hurts.
You'll lose it too.
Grant Hill's pretty good.
You'll lose it too. Grant Hill.
Kyrie Irving's pretty
Injury
good.
career. Kyrie Irving's an anti-Semite. What else you got? We're done. There you go.
JJ Redick's pretty good.
JJ Redick?
Yeah.
Oh, trash. All right. In any event, which is worse? You guys are all fans of teams that you guys played, so your perspective might be a little different, but would you rather root for a team that gets eliminated, bang, the last Sunday of the regular season, no playoffs in your future, or would you rather deal with the heartbreak that people in Detroit are going through right now and fans in Baltimore are going through right now?
Yeah, I'd rather deal with the heartbreak.
Heartbreak?
Yeah, by far.
You want in?
Because it shows that you're competent enough. You know, fate wasn't on your side. But to lose, not even make it to the playoffs, I mean, that's a lot of fires along the way. There's a reason why you didn't go the distance.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd rather have a team that just didn't get it there. Hopefully we can make it back next year. But I'd rather have a place at the table than not have a place.
You've obviously covered and seen a lot of Bronco teams that came close and some that didn't make the playoffs. Most recent years, what do you like better?
Yeah, I would much rather get to the playoffs and give myself an opportunity because once you get in, you never know what's going to happen.
But I mean, from a fan standpoint, I get it as players, obviously.
Yeah, no. But I think from a fan standpoint too, because at least it gives you hope.
Yeah.
At least you've got something. You know, we're close. Like that whole thing, we're close as a fan. That's big time.
I mean, I would say, look how Buffalo feels. Like, look how some.
Well, that's my question for Jacoby. Would you have rather the Bills, not make it into the playoffs this past year, or lose the way they lost to Kansas City?
Yeah, I think both Buffalo and Detroit are good examples of why you want to make the playoffs. Why, even though it is heartbreaking and it hurts, you beat the Steelers at home.
Yeah.
And the Detroit won 2 playoff games at home. The city's on fire. And also, you get as a fan, you get the whole offseason of hope. You get the whole offseason of, if only our kicker was better. If only this play went this way. Gibbs didn't fumble. Like, you get hope. You feel like you're close to a Super Bowl. Where if you're a Jets fan, or it's like
that's
like maybe
team,
Aaron Rodgers will play 2 games next season.
I can tell you that this past year for me as a Jet fan, and let's be honest, 5,000 or 6,000 years prior to it, was far worse than when we lost to the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. I think you guys are dead right. I want the smoke. I want to be in it. I want the conversation. I want the agita. I want the butterflies in my stomach.
Jacoby got baptized in blue cheese
He did.
for his team.
I really thought that was.
Yeah.
You thought that was
going to get us the win.
What about the pit of despair? They were throwing people in the pit. Did you go down and jump in the pit?
If they won, then I would have gone to the pit.
Okay, you would have gone to
All
the
right,
pit.
Lost.
time now for something we like to call winners and
losers.
Let's start off with something positive, shall we, boys? Winners. Jared Goff is a major weekend winner after this past weekend, even though the Detroit Lions blew a 17-point lead twice in the game to San Francisco. And here's why he's a winner. 2 reasons. One, no one's criticizing his play.
Right.
It's Jared Goff played great. They lost in spite of him.
No, I thought he was steady Eddie. He didn't throw a pick in the playoffs. And overall, man, he kept him. I mean, he was kicking butt. A large part of it, obviously, Purdy in the second half kind of sent him home. But overall, man, you got yourself a franchise quarterback.
Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson's not getting praised this week. But Jared Goff is.
Correct.
There's a distinct difference in the way that we're talking about Lamar Jackson this week and Jared Goff.
And 2, because even though they lost the NFC Championship game, when he went home, Christian Harper was waiting for him, and that makes that man a winner 7 days a week and twice on Sunday.
Well, listen, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I do.
Because I don't care how fine she is. She's got her stuff, too.
Yeah.
So, right, but let me just say that son of a gun has proven.
Yes.
Like, there's something special when somebody gives up on you to have an attitude of, I just no longer care. I'm going to go out here and do what I do.
Yep.
And you know what? He's just one of those dudes. He throws 3 picks, man. He's going to keep on slinging because somebody's already kicked him to the curb.
And by the way,
I love that about him.
He played very well in the playoffs for Detroit. Like, he's not the reason they lost that game.
Yeah, all season long. He was great the other day. They should have won it.
Absolutely right. All right, let's go to the first loser of the week. It's an obvious one. Let's stay in Detroit. As much as the American public loves him, Dan Campbell is taking the L this week. Lehu Zaher. Kick the field goal, buddy. Go up 17 with 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, 4th and 3, kick the field goal, tie the game on the road. Don't give San Francisco the big Momo like you did. And Dan Campbell, while it's cute, while we can all kind of rally around the aggressive nature, while he's very consistent, while we know he's authentically him, and no one questions him at all, the reality is that aggression, which did get them to the NFC Championship game, also cost them a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, blowing a 17-point lead, 0-2 on fourth down, and all I could think about was all those fans in that building that was just waiting for the confetti to fall, for that team to come home with the NFC Championship, and it didn't happen because this man just simply didn't do what was right during the game.
Sorry if we're distracting you.
No. I was looking because at one point, the be who you are thing.
Yeah.
I do remember them. What was the score at halftime?
They were down 17.
Yeah, it was 24-7, correct?
Yep.
So at some point, being Dan Campbell, at some point there in the first half, you did actually kick a field goal on fourth down.
At the end of the first half.
At the end of the first half, right? So the point is this, man. When you are in that situation as a coach, I don't care what you've done. I don't care your mantra or whatever your company line is. You have to do what's best for your team at that situation.
In the moment.
Going up 17 with 7 minutes left in the third quarter, kicking a field goal to make it 27-27 in the fourth. That's the most prudent thing to do. And you know what? Here's the other thing that happens to you. Think about this. You go for it. You don't get it. Okay? That's what happens. Now what happens? Well, the momentum shifts over to the other sideline, right? They get excited. If you kick that field goal and you go around 17, now I kick off to them. Now all of a sudden there's a TV timeout and your offense has to stand around real time.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pain in the ass.
Right.
And all of a sudden that momentum that you got, bam, change of possession, let's roll, let's go do this. What did San Francisco do right after you went for
the touchdown?
They scored a touchdown.
And they forced the fumble.
Right. And it's
then
a
they
new
scored
game,
another
man.
touchdown. And now what could have been a 17-point lead is a tie game. And that's exactly how it went down.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I think you have to coach the moment. And you can say, this is my style, this is my personality, and no one disputes that. You need that. But you also have to coach the moment. And the moment should be bigger than what your style is. And look, to be fair, I wanted to say this. A lot of Lions fans reached out to me on Twitter over the last 48 hours. And their rhetoric, which I respect, is let's not assume that we automatically make both those field goals. We have an average field goal kicker.
Yeah, but one of those
they were 44 and like 48
46
yards
away.
So the point is this. Play that out just for a second, and then we'll go down with the list here. And if you play it out, if they don't go for it on 4th and 2 and 4th and 3, and they go for the 17-point lead and or to tie the game, if their field goal kicker misses either one of those kicks, I know exactly what's happening after that game. Why didn't Dan Campbell be Dan Campbell?
Well, another thing someone who we need to mention here is Greg Reynolds. They went forward on 4th and 2. Goff made a decent throw, and Reynolds tries to catch the ball. Josh Reynolds, not Greg Reynolds. Tries to catch the ball like this off his hands. Like, that was a catchable play. He makes that catch. That's more time off the clock.
But there was multiple drops
on the
in that
board.
second half for Detroit that kind of could have tilted the field. But to go back to your field goal, those are chip shots, Craig. Like this,
48 yards is a chip shot?
It's not.
In today's NFL. In today's NFL. 15 years ago, no.
If you give any kicker in the league, they can make that kick.
Not in Buffalo.
It's changed. The circumstances are different. That was a swirling wind. Like, this is nice. This is a nice day. 60 degrees, no wind. Like, there's no.
I mean, we have seen some missed field goals. Green Bay missed the kick against San Francisco.
Moody missed the kick in that.
Moody missed the kick. So it's not guaranteed you make a 48
Well, no, it's not guaranteed, but the odds of you making a 48-yarder versus converting 4th and 2, that's higher that you make the 48-yarder. So
I'll take your word for that. And as you said, the ball hit Reynolds in the hands. Catch the ball. We pay to catch the ball.
Good.
And then we're talking about a whole different thing he does. All right, let's move on. Big winner this weekend, Travis Kelce. As much as I don't like Travis Kelce, 11 catches. You solidify your place as one of the great pass-catching tight ends in the history of the sport. You got Taylor Swift on your arm. You're telling her you love her, she loves you.
I love it.
Did they say that?
Right.
Yeah, they did. On the field.
There's not a single commercial break where you're not the feature of the commercial. You got like the hottest podcast in the world. Whatever PR company said we'll take on the Travis Kelce project, I'm looking for a new PR company because that dude is going to print money for the next 25 years of his life. just being Travis Kelce.
And if they win the Super Bowl, retire. He would never be as hot as he is right now. I mean, you broke Jerry Rice's postseason receiver record. Swifty, you got Swifty Nation all over you. You and your brother can walk out in glory. Like, this is the hottest he's going to be. So retire if you win.
I don't know why I'm forgetting this. Did John retire after the last Super Bowl?
Yep.
He did. So he went out as Super Bowl champion as well. I just want to double check that, make sure I have my facts right on that one. All right, let's go to this one. Kadarius Toney, loser.
Oh, man.
Loser. Why is he a loser? Because he has not played a single snap. He's been a healthy scratch. They say he's got an injury. Did not play in any of the playoff games this year. And you have to assume he is not playing in the Super Bowl for whatever he did to tick off Andy Reid. And I'm sure there's a list, as long as Santa's, as to what that clown has done to tick off Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. You are not going to see Kadarius Toney because, as the word goes, only one guy in America can stop Patrick Mahomes, and it's Kadarius Toney.
That's right.
The Andy Reid sound was so funny because the reporter's like, Kadarius Toney says he's healthy, yet he wasn't playing. Andy Reid's in back of his mind. He's like, do you want me to tell the truth, Kadarius? Do you really want me to tell the truth? Because we've been putting out this whole story about how you're injured. And now, do you really want me to tell the truth?
Sometimes it's better to just lay low, get the ring if you win one, and zip your lip and go somewhere else.
Just be cool, man.
Yeah.
Go along with the ride.
He doesn't have it.
Right.
He's one of those guys can't help himself. It says here that I'm a big winner.
Oh, great.
You are?
Congratulations, buddy.
I have no idea why, other than I get to sit next to you fine people.
Oh, I thought you were talking
every single week.
next to you, yeah.
And, of course, Christian Harper. Yes, I'm a big winner because we are this close to Zach Wilson no longer being our problem. If you missed the report earlier today, it is out there that, and I don't know where this comes from, that the New York Jets have multiple suitors for Zach Wilson, but that one of them is actually Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, okay.
Where did these reports come from?
Yeah.
And the real reason I'm a winner this week is because I was on the Brock Purdy wagon before anybody in America. I was voting for him to be the MVP back in October, and I was mocked for it. And now my guy, the Machine, is in the Super Bowl, so we call that a win for me. How about losers? Eric Bieniemy, big championship weekend loser. Didn't have a good run in Washington. A lot of dysfunction around him. Not all on him, of course. And apparently those guys don't like tough talk from a coach because they're soft, like a lot of pro athletes are these days. But all of a sudden, for those of you that thought that Eric Bieniemy was their secret sauce for the success that the Chiefs' offense has had, guess what? They're back in the Super Bowl without him.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like his role in Washington has increased at all, right?
Oh, he's going to be gone.
He's going to be gone. So, this is tough. The Chiefs go ahead, and he seems like to be rested. I like Eric Bieniemy. I know he's old school, but it just doesn't look good for him.
I love it, man. He's a great dude, but, you look at what Washington did, especially with a quarterback in Sam Howell that really, he played one game his rookie year. So you're essentially taking a rookie quarterback and you're getting him sacked 60 times. You're not running the football. You're not you're acting like he's Patrick Mahomes.
Correct.
And he's not. Correct. And they've got a great receiving core, but there are a lot of things that you need to do as a play caller to take the pressure off a young guy and to give him the best opportunity to succeed. And I don't think Eric did that. I really don't.
Yeah, his offensive line was atrocious.
But he's not going to survive a coaching staff change in Washington. I'd be surprised if he does. All right, real quick. Lamar Jackson, obvious. Loser. You're the #1 seed. You're the presumptive favorite to be the MVP for the second time. You're at home. You have a chance to kill Goliath. And you throw into triple coverage in the end zone for an embarrassing interception that ultimately cost the Ravens a chance to stay in that game and maybe have a last-second drive to tie or win the game. Lamar Jackson's legacy took a big, fat loser this past weekend.
Yeah, the problem is they were Goliath, Craig. Remember we were going into this game, we were talking about the defense. Lamar Jackson playing at MVP level, everything that he's,
frauds.
It was.
You remember what they did to the 49ers in San Francisco?
Yeah, you see what they did to the Dolphins? You see what they did to Detroit? Yeah. Every team that we thought was them, they smacked them up. So it's just like, what the hell happened, man?
I'll tell you what I think happened. Mark, you can back me up on this one. I think for a lot of them, the moment was too big for them. Patrick Mahomes is coming into town, and they did not run their offense. They did not run the way they playing games, and they got away from it. All the things that they did that made them rock stars and the #1 seed, they got away from all of it.
Do you think, from a coaching staff standpoint, because I thought they played undisciplined football, I thought they thought they could intimidate the Kansas City Chiefs. We're like, hey, we're world champions.
And they didn't blink.
No, but I look at. Do you think, from a coaching staff standpoint, that they got away from what they do exceptionally well, simply to say, hey, our guy, Lamar, can out Mahomes? Because if that's what you think, you're stupid. Because there is nobody that's going to out Mahomes.
Yeah.
So stick to the identity that you've won with consistently. They got totally away from what they do. And I will tell you this, man, all that read zone stuff, the RPO stuff, where you threaten the edge and you either hand it off or the quarterback, you know how hard that is to defend for an NFL team? That's a college kind of system. It is so hard, you cannot possibly prep for that in 1 week.
And you're doing it with one of the fastest men in the NFL.
Right. And you totally got away from it. I have no idea.
Makes a good point that we've been blaming Lamar for the past couple of days. I do think the coaching staff does deserve some blame because they didn't run the ball. We talked about it yesterday. They ran the ball 6 times to running backs. And all of the penalties. At some point, there's a little bit of that goes mainly on the players, but a little bit of that is culture and coaching.
So you're either coaching or you're allowing it to happen. One or the other, right? You're either coaching them to play that way or you're allowing them to play that way. And you're not good enough to overcome 4 personal fouls, to keep drives alive. You're not. And nobody is.
They all take a good slice of the blame. Lamar's going to get the most of it because he's the quarterback who got the bag this offseason, and he's the MVP. But you can put the same level of blame on Harbaugh and on Todd Monken, who did a great job all year. And then all of a sudden, in the biggest spot out there, they decided we're no longer the Baltimore Ravens.
You think of a device in which we could sort of physically represent the different people that deserve blame from this weekend, and then maybe spin that device?
I think we can. I can. Yeah, it's called the wheel. Yes, the wheel of blame. Yeah, that's coming up, but we've one more here I have to do.
Tease it for later.
It says here that the San Francisco homeless population was a big winner this weekend.
The homeless?
Yeah. Yep, because they'll have a front row seat to the upcoming Super Bowl parade in San Francisco. So there's a benefit of being there. There, on the curb, front and center. Here comes the bus.
The homeless. Yeah.
Maybe we should have gone to break early.
Maybe we didn't need to do that one.
Big winners, huh?
We just ended on the wheel.
Let me go back in time.
Right, bring it back.
No, that's a great point, Jacoby.
Yeah.
I would call it the Wheel of Blame. And it's next on FS1.
I live with a broken phone. I can't trade in.
Okay, that's dramatic. Better plans Verizon.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
New and existing customers can trade in any Samsung phone for a new Galaxy S24 Plus, watch, and tablet, all on us. That's up to $1,800 in value, only on Verizon.
What's up at DQ? That guy's going fry first on a $7 meal deal. Ooh, or is it dessert first? These two are debating which $7 meal deal, with fries, drink, and a sundae, is the best full-size meal deal of all.
Cheeseburger.
Chicken strips.
And he can't believe he got a full-size meal for just $7.
Can't believe I got a full-size meal for just $7.
That's a $7 meal deal, and that's what's up at DQ. Happy tastes good.
What if finding a new job wasn't such a leap of faith?
I don't think I'm right for this. I said I don't think I'm right for the job.
You're perfect for it!
What if you knew you'd be paid fairly?
Check this out.
Because you could literally see what the job pays. What if your schedule worked for you, and her, and them? And what if the promise of better work
No way!
was something that found us?
I got the interview.
It is almost here. United Football League, right after the Super Bowl. Don't forget, a couple weeks on football. Football returns to Fox March 30th. The United Football League.
Yeah, don't believe the reports that are out there that Schlereth and I are doing play-by-play in color for those games. That is an unconfirmed report. Not happening just yet.
Okay.
Contractual issues with Mark. That's it. Anyhow, welcome back. How about this just very quickly for a little pop culture odd couple on the golf course? The recently retired Nick Saban, Alabama head coach, of course, and R&B star, rap star, rock star, whatever you want to say, Travis Scott on the links together. Mark Schlereth. That's an odd couple now.
Okay.
Is he still? He's not recruiting, is he?
Like, who's recruiting?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what is that?
So they were playing golf together and put it out there. I just wanted to throw it out there, a little pop culture reference.
Of course.
Saban looks like you can hit him.
We do have the Wheel of Blame coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's get over to Jacoby for First and Football.
We start with Odell Beckham Jr., of all people. He became sort of a locker room mentor for the Ravens this year. He saw him consoling Lamar Jackson after the game, and he spoke about Lamar Jackson after the game, and here's what he said about his quarterback.
The greats have all been through tough times, and I don't think this is going to stop him from wanting to get to, his ultimate goal. I had never seen somebody so locked in and just, in their flow and in their era. I just felt like it was his time, and like I say, sometimes things happen in life and it doesn't go the way that we planned. It's just about what do you do from here.
So what do they do from here? Do you expect Lamar Jackson and these Ravens to be back in the AFC Championship?
I think the road's going to be harder. I think this was the year for them to do it because of the injury to Joe Burrow. Obviously, the Bills not playing great football throughout a lot of the season, having the #1 seed. Everything that could have gone right for them in the regular season went right for them. This was the year. Doesn't mean that they're not going to compete next year. They come back loaded with a very, very good team, and of course with Lamar Jackson. So they're a playoff team perennially now. That's not an issue. But if you couldn't get over the hump this year, why am I now going to back you to get over the hump next year? Like Patrick Mahomes is playing football. Joe Burrow, if he stays healthy, which has been a question mark, he's playing football. Like, there's no guarantee you win your division. There's no guarantee you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed. There's a lot of things that went right for them this year that you can't guarantee just by showing up goes right for you next year. It's interesting hearing Odell there. Most quarterbacks obviously experience some level of loss. Mahomes is probably the outlier in that, where it's just been gravy for him since he became the starting quarterback. But I have a question for Odell Beckham.
Oh, what's that?
Is he going to be a Raven next year? 1-year contract, $15 million, with $3 million in incentives. So to me, he was a non-factor for them the majority of this year. Had a couple catches late in that game, so he had 3 or 4 catches for the game. But are you giving $15 million again to Odell Beckham Jr.?
No, you tell him to take a discount, obviously. I mean, that's just what happens. But I do like his maturity, and I think as much as he talked to Lamar, he actually talked to Zay Flowers. Because Zay Flowers being a rookie, also, the impact he had in that game. As much as, the taunting and the fumble and busting his hand, he scored the first touchdown.
He was their best player.
He was their best player. So I think having, and maybe Mark can speak to this too, having older guys in the locker room, to be in the locker room, coach guys through tough situations, or even how to prepare like a pro is endless. It's always a reward to that. I think moving forward, the problem with Lamar is in the postseason, his numbers drop, right? So it all starts with him.
Yep.
He has to be better in the postseason. We know who he is in the regular season, much like we know who Dak is. But we can't judge you no more on the regular season. It's about what you do in the playoffs. And for that man right there in the playoffs, he's not the same quarterback.
That's 100% fair. Yeah. It's 100% fair. And bottom line is, when I see a guy like Lamar, when he gets in the playoffs and teams force him to play drop-back quarterback, you know what he hasn't been? Good.
Yeah.
Right.
He has not been good. And you could sit there and say, hey, they didn't call a great game. I agree with that. I don't think they called a great game. I think they took him out of his wheelhouse. But, the guy that runs around and makes plays with his feet, and he does it with his arm as well, and he extends plays, like, if he wins a Super Bowl, that'll be the first guy that plays that way that wins a Super Bowl.
Right.
And the bottom line is, you look at the AFC right now, you got Josh Allen, who can operate in a drop-back system. You got Joe Burrow, who can operate in a drop-back system. You got Patrick Mahomes, who can operate in a drop-back system. He has proven, Lamar has, in the playoffs, that that's not his forte. And that's how I think in this league, That's how you win championships.
And look, you got Harbaugh going to the Chargers, so that's going to be a different animal, obviously in the AFC West, but still in the AFC. And you got two in Miami. You got Aaron Rodgers coming back. This was the year for Baltimore to get over that hump and at least get to the Super Bowl, if not flat out win it. It ain't going to be any, I know easy is not the right word, but it won't get any easier than it did for you to only have to win 2 games this year at home to get to a Super Bowl. No guarantee you have that same kind of path next year.
Willie mentioned him a second ago, but second in football revolves around Zay Flowers, who obviously had this taunting call that cost him 15 yards, and then the costly fumble that essentially cost them a touchdown. He spoke about these mistakes after the game and how they will motivate him moving forward.
Yeah, I feel like I got another step. I feel like I could be one of the best receivers in this league, and I'm not going to let one moment define me, so I'm going to just use that and use it as a slingshot.
Willie, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Could this bad performance actually make him a better football player long term?
Yeah, because I think sometimes, especially today's players, they read the press clippings, right? And they read how great you are and how he can be, offensive rookie of the year and on and on and on. But then having a moment like this, he sees the bad side because he's probably been dragged through social media. He's probably been dragged through. Right. So now he understands, all right, they love me one moment and then they don't love me. At the end of the day, it's not about what I do. It's about how I progress going forward. So if he has that understanding and continue to play good football, he's going to be a Pro Bowler. He's going to have a hell of a career. It's just unfortunate, that he impacted the game in this fashion.
Well, look, the Baltimore Ravens now have their Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. He's a rock star, this kid.
Yeah.
He's everything you want your first round, draft pick wide receiver to be, dominated games, 1,000 yards, 100 catches, all that stuff. That'll be an annual event for him. Unfortunately, on the biggest stage of his professional career, while he was their best player on offense, he also cost them a chance to win the game.
Well, he did. There's a lot of things that cost them chances to win the game. But I don't know about you guys. I've never learned anything about myself in the good times because I was too busy patting myself on the back. Right. It's during the tough times when you actually learn who you are and what you want to be about. And so these are great, unfortunately, they're great, valuable life lessons. Unfortunately, have to learn them. Most of us have to learn them in tough times. And so good for him, man. Take responsibility for it and move forward.
Yeah, and, it's unique when you do this for a living or play sports for a living. You also have to deal with that adversity in front of the public.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have, situations in life, they can deal with it privately and figure out the best road to get back to where they want to be. Here's a 22-year-old kid who's now being dragged because of what happened in the game, and he's got to figure this out publicly.
And to your point, Craig, we watched other receivers not talk to the media, a la A.J. Brown after a tough game. That young man didn't. Yeah. He stood there and was like, hey, man, this is what it is. He took
he also happened to have had a really good game. Other than the obvious.
115.
And by the way, I would much rather take a kid that's trying to get the extra yard and diving for the goal line than a guy that doesn't block on a run play. I'll take that kid all day.
100%. There's a quote I read the other day. I don't know where I read it, but it's better to light a candle than curse the dark, right? And so here's a kid that lit a candle and say, "Hey, man, it's on me." Yeah. You can sit there and complain about it. You can curse the criticism and everything else. But hey, man, I'll learn from it. I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna be better.
Yeah. By the way, I'm just being told that you have to skedaddle again. I forgot.
Meaning early.
I forgot about that too.
You're not going to be a part
that means he's having fun.
The wheel of blame. That's a gut shot for me. I was really hoping you'd be here.
Well, you gonna let him spin the wheel?
No.
I don't even get a spin.
Don't touch that wheel around.
There's no practice spin. Once you spin that wheel, you can't.
Anyhow, Mark will join us again tomorrow from 7 to 9 Thursday, as well. He has a radio show in Denver, so we want to be respectful of that as well. Coming up, how much blame does Dan Campbell get, and does he deserve more blame than anybody else after this weekend? Right after this.
Rachel, you okay?
No. I live with a broken phone. I can't trade in.
Okay, that's dramatic. Better plans Verizon. Everyone can trade in their old phone and get the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus with AI on them.
A new phone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Wait, I'm on Verizon. Can I still get it?
Yeah.
I gotta trade this in, right?
New and existing customers can trade in any Samsung phone for a new Galaxy S24 Plus watch and tablet, all on us. That's up to $1,800 in value, only on Verizon.
At Jersey Mike's, they slice your sub right in front of you. All that meat and cheese just for me. Watching that takes me to my happy place. Oh, wait. Jersey Mike's is my happy place. Kelly, did I place an order here in my happy place?
Not yet, Danny.
Then I'm going back to reality.
Number 7 for Danny.
Oh, thanks, reality, Kelly. Sliced right in front of you. It's a Jersey Mike's thing. A sub above.
You are in charge of 350 air crewmen. Boys who have yet to experience combat. Their lives depend on you. This is your responsibility. Yes, sir. No! That's it.
They can't make me go up again.
Must move. We lead our boys through it.
Masters of the Air.
It looked like.
Ah, yes, we are back with
Craig.
the Wheel of Blame. Why are all those fingers pointing at me, by the way? I didn't like that. All right, here we go. That's how it works. Obviously, after the championship weekend and the way those games play themselves out, there are a lot of people to blame for what went down. Who gets blamed the most? Are you ready to go?
Okay. Let's do it.
Spin that wheel. Not dead. Right out of the gate.
Tough one.
Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell, who obviously very aggressive all year. Everybody fell in love with that aggression. The game against the Dallas Cowboys, going for a 2-point conversion from the 7, blah, blah, blah. But in this game, third quarter, 7 minutes to go. 4th and 2. He calls a pass play. They don't convert it. Reynolds drops the ball. Chance to go up 17. 4th quarter, trailing by 3. 48-yard field goal, or try to convert on 4th and 3. Let's go for it. 4th and 3, incomplete pass, and they never tie the game. San Francisco scores a touchdown on the next possession, and the Detroit Lions get knocked out and blow a 17-point lead. How much blame do you give Dan Campbell?
A lot. For a coach that always talks about doing the best for his team and putting his team first, here was a great opportunity. You got a chance to tie the game, tie the damn game, and go play football.
All right, you want to jump in?
I just feel like he let his reputation dictate his actions and wasn't paying attention to the game. He said, I'm the guy that goes for it on 4th down all the time. It's like, well, be the guy that goes for it on 4th down all the time then. Don't kick before the half, because when you kick before the half, you're telling the audience, I'm doing the best for the team. If the points are available, I'll take them. Yeah. He didn't take them.
All right. Spin that wheel! Zay Flowers. All right, so you got Dan Campbell. He's the leader in the clubhouse right now. How much blame do we put on the guy that called for the taunting penalty, cost him 15 yards instead of 1st and goal from the 9, chance to get within 3 points. They move the ball back to the 25, and then on that same drive, he's the go-to guy, makes the catch, stretches for the end zone. The guy that he pushed down to the ground, Snead, is the guy that comes back and makes that touchdown-saving play, knocks the ball loose, touchback for Kansas City. How much do you want to blame Zay Flowers?
I don't put a whole lot on. You can't blame a player for being aggressive. But by the way, I saw Kelsey spike the ball in the end zone, right? And even on the taunting play, Snead was holding his leg. So you can't fault players for being spirited in the moment, right? We're players. We're emotional. We're not robots.
There is a rule of thumb amongst men, though. You know this rule, especially growing up in the Bronx. It's one thing if you want to push me off if I'm getting up. It's another thing, to spin the ball on my grill. Yeah. You cannot stand over another man.
It's playoff football,
It's disrespectful.
But for the ref to call that in that moment, it's playoff football.
But it was the push, the stand, the spin, the whole Megillah.
He didn't mug the guy.
If he would have chosen 2 of the push, stand, spin, or taunt, he would have been fine, but he did all 4 of them.
I agree.
But I'm putting 0 blame on Zay Flowers.
0 blame.
Zero blame on Zay Flowers. I want a receiver who dives for the end zone.
Okay.
I want a receiver. I thought Snead made a great play.
He did.
If he dives a little bit lower, he gets in. And I don't mind the taunt so much. He's passionate. He made a big play. Yeah. He's helping his team. He had a good game. I'm going to say
Kelsey was pounding his chest.
There's a lot of other blame to go around, so I got more blame points. I'm allocating 0 to Zay Flowers.
So 0. So right now, Dan Campbell's still the leader in the clubhouse for you.
Oh, yeah.
And for you.
Zay Flowers is innocent.
All right, so Zay.
Innocent. Exonerated.
Okay, hold on.
You got
get him out of there. There we go. All All right. All right, that means Dan Campbell's still the leader in the clubhouse. You know what we do next?
Spin that wheel!
That handsome guy is not a salesman. That is Todd Monken, offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens.
I think he does my taxes.
We talked about it on Monday. We talked about it again today. Ravens went into that championship game, best rushing offense in the entire sport. Their running backs got a total of 6 carries. 6 carries. That's Edwards with 3, Hill with 3, and Hill got 0 carries in the second half. So Todd Monken went away from the game plan that got them the #1 seed. If we're going to blame Dan Campbell for decisions he made with the Lions, how much blame do you guys want to put on the head of Todd Monken?
A lot, because we went into this game saying one thing about the Baltimore Ravens: they don't change their script or identity, and they did both in one game. And
right.
The fact in the second half that they tried to make Lamar Jackson Patrick Mahomes and they failed at it is an indictment of his play calling as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Craig, you said this last week as well. We saw the Bills be successful on the ground against that team.
Yep.
We saw them be successful against the Chiefs for the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Todd Monken watched the same game that we watched and decided, you know what? We'll run it 6 times.
And I'm watching that game saying to myself, we all discussed it. They had to know it, that if there's a weakness on what's a very good Kansas City defense, it's the run defense, not the pass defense.
But Craig, on the 4th and 1, when they needed a conversion, they ran it, right? And they were successful. So time after time, when they needed to run, they got what they wanted.
And that was like a 25-yard run.
Yeah.
By Lamar
I didn't
Jackson.
see a single, I mean, I could be wrong. I didn't see a single design run for Lamar Jackson. I'm sure.
Well, the
fourth down. But like,
Yeah.
I didn't see too many. There was 2 the entire game, which is the thing they did. I didn't see any of the RPOs that Solarius has been talking about. Like, it just seemed like they got away from what got them there.
Monken, leader in the clubhouse, or still Dan Campbell?
Still Dan Campbell.
Still Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
Okay, so there you go.
damn.
All right, spin that wheel.
Like Jimmy Flash Snooker.
The TJ Zada?
Let your soul glow. That guy right there had a couple big drops for the Detroit Lions. No drop bigger than the 4th and 2 play. So as much as we want to blame Dan Campbell for being uber aggressive, to be fair, Jared Goff puts that ball on Reynolds' hands, and he doesn't make the catch. And then that's a little bit later on in the game. The crossing pattern again would have been a first down, keep a drive alive, and he drops that ball. There's a lot of goats around here, but no bigger than Reynolds. What's your take on Reynolds?
Yeah, they throw you the ball, catch the damn ball, especially if you play that clip back. You got Jared Goff stepping in a pocket with Bosa screaming down on his back shoulder, ready to get the sack fumble. And at the end of the day, look at Bosa coming around the horn. Boom, beats that, waiting for his guy to make a play, and he failed him. Everybody made a play except that guy right there.
Look at this one. Hits him right in the chest.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the question. If we're going to acknowledge that the play calls that did get sent in worked, if everyone does their job, does Reynolds get more blame than Campbell? Because if Reynolds catches the ball that hits him in his hands twice, then we're not talking about Dan Campbell because players make plays.
No, I'm still going Dan Campbell.
Dan
because
Campbell?
that opportunity to tie the game, he didn't.
I'm going Reynolds. I'm going Reynolds.
You're just being different.
Dan Campbell, he stayed true to his identity. He went for it, but he still gave his team a chance. With those 2 drops, he ended drives that could have ended the game.
All right, Reynolds stays on the board.
I'm saying Reynolds on the board.
Reynolds stays
keeping
on
Reynolds
the
on the
board.
board.
Sorry for that,
You had a chance to tie the game. Doesn't matter whatever happened. You had a chance to
But
tie
here's
the
the
game.
thing.
46 yards out.
Dan
Knock it up
Campbell
right.
gets legitimate criticism. I think he's earned that because of the decision making.
Yeah.
But if you break down the first play that we're all criticizing, the 4th and 2, when you had a chance to kick the field goal and go up 17 with 22 minutes to go in the game, the play call that he brought in worked.
It worked.
Yes. Johnson called the play, and the play was available. The quarterback made the throw. One guy didn't do his job.
He catches that ball. Regardless of what happens for the rest of the drive outside of a turnover, they're getting 3 or 7.
Most likely, you're right. And they're taking 4 more minutes off the clock.
Yeah. Or you stay true to identity and run the ball, right? Because
You know
if
what?
you're able
You
to
know
run
what?
the ball.
You know what? You know what? Hey, Dan Campbell.
No!
He's off.
Why are you taking the ball? You
That's
just
right,
like it.
Dan
That's why
Campbell. We got your back, Dan
All right, I'll
Campbell.
put it back up.
Yeah, put it back up.
Hey. All right, get let him back
And by the way, Todd Monken did a terrible job.
Yeah, Todd, put them all on there.
And by the way, hold on to the ball, St.
Every back in the cage.
Everybody's
back in the cage.
Spin that wheel.
Big money, big money, big money.
Lamar Action Jackson. I got to go back to my dear friend Tim Hardaway. He's going to join us in March for NBA coverage when he said, much like about Justin Fields, I got a running back playing quarterback. Yikes. I don't know what's going on in Baltimore, but when he was asked to stay in the pocket and make plays, he didn't. He had his worst game of the year in the AFC Championship game. How much blame are we putting on Lamar Jackson?
Listen, in his playoff career, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, right?
And that last one was
but that's the problem, Craig. Like, no matter how he played, that's what we're going to remember. His whole season, his MVP candidacy, this is what we remember. Throw it into triple coverage with the game on the line, and you blow it. And this is an indictment. This is why he gets the criticism, because there's no more excuses for Lamar Jackson. You had the team, you had the coaches, this was your window, and you blew it from that throw.
All you need is points on that drive.
That's it.
You got 6 minutes to go. It's a one-score game, and let's remember how that second half played out. As much as we want to celebrate the greatness of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes,
They weren't scoring.
They got shut out in the second half.
5 punts. The Chiefs punted 5 times in the second half.
All of a sudden, all the momentum's now in Baltimore's favor. They would have stopped Kansas City because they did the entire second half. And now you've got The Rock in a one-score game.
And look how they started that drop. They were in the end zone. They get the first down likely. They started the road. They took a couple shots and went back.
That was the nail in the coffin shot. That was him going for a 35-yard touchdown in a triple coverage. That was ridiculous. It was such an obvious mistake, but he made other mistakes throughout the game. There was at least 4 or 5 deep balls that they drew up. Monken wants to take a shot. He overthrows every single
first down, too. It's like they came out every new set of downs. Let's go deep.
There's also a couple times where he could clearly run for 5 or 6 yards, keep a drive going, get a first down. And for some reason, he was hesitant to run. Lamar Jackson was hesitant to run when the first down was right there. The interception was a glaring, huge mistake, but he made a dozen other smaller mistakes that contributed to the loss.
All right, so leader in the clubhouse. Is it Lamar? Is it Reynolds? Or is it Campbell?
I'm going Lamar.
Lamar Jackson, the new leader in the clubhouse.
I'm going Lamar by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
By Lamar by a lot.
Yeah. Lamar by a lot.
All right, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Which means we have one more to go.
One more.
Spin that wheel.
It's picking up some momentum.
How did that happen?
So Whitney studio. Very Whitney.
I mean, it barely made it. All right. It's the mystery name.
The mystery name. Go to the envelope.
The mystery name. We go to the envelope. All right. So right now, Lamar Jackson's the leader in the clubhouse. Who do you blame more? Lamar Jackson or John Harbaugh?
I mean, you got to help me with this one.
All right, so everybody is blaming Dan Campbell. Everyone's blaming, Todd Monken. How about the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens? Because
that's interesting, Craig.
Look at his numbers right there. Obviously, okay. And here's the other thing about John Harbaugh. I remember the halftime interview he did on TV, and he said specifically, we got to get to running the football in the second half, and we'll be just fine. How many carries in the second half did Justice Hill have? Goose egg. So you're the head coach. Todd Monken works for you. Are you telling me that when you went into the locker room and your defense corrected their mistakes because they shut out the Kansas City offense, you're telling me that you didn't tell Todd Monken run the football?
Yeah, Craig,
Craig, hold on.
You got me on this one, Craig.
You're forgetting the 1, 2, 3, 4 15-yard penalties.
Yes.
There were lack of discipline, which is lack of culture, lack of coaching, that is also falls on John Harbaugh. However, I'm going Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I'm still going Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. All right, that means the first ever Wheel of Blame, the winner is Lamar Jackson.
Hey. All right, Lamar.
Nice job,
Put
Lamar.
that right
Have a good offseason.
He's going to put the wheel right next to the MVP trophy.
Dog fishing.
We got another segment to go. We got some Patrick Mahomes chatter for you, and we're going to find out. Yeah, spin it again.
Spin it
Why
again.
not? Can we make Patrick Mahomes the biggest villain in sports?
Yes.
That right after this.
I hate his hair.
What's up at DQ? These two are debating which $7 meal deal, with fries, drink, and a sundae, is the best full-size meal deal of all.
Cheeseburger.
Chicken strips. There's something for everyone in the $7 meal deal at DQ. Happy tastes good.
Visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on a new vehicle.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Carton Show. We have your early morning headlines, and we start with that man, Patrick Mahomes. He and the Chiefs have been in 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. I didn't even think that was real until a researcher confirmed it. It seems like them in the Super Bowl is inevitable. And along with this sort of success, generally, there's a little bit of pushback. A little bit of hate from the people. Do you think that all this success has changed the way people view Mahomes?
I think we're going in that direction because, dynasties are great for sports because they bring out the fandom in some people and they bring out the hatred in others, right? And sports isn't fun if you don't have somebody to dislike and root against. The problem with that is almost every other kind of like face of a dynasty, I don't care what the sport is, has had someone on that team that is unlikable, someone that you can actively root against, someone that emotionally brings out all that hatred and negativity that sits deep in your bowels, and you're just ready to attack, right? And for right now, Kelsey's more that guy because he's willing to mix it up and kind of be douchey on the field and all the nonsense off the field. But I'm trying my hardest. I want to dislike Patrick Mahomes in the worst possible way. And every time I sit down in my hate corner in my room and I pray to the hate gods, I can't do it. I try so hard not to like him, and I find everything about him personally likable, right? He wasn't the first overall pick. A lot of people counted him out. I remember doing radio shows here in New York around the time of the draft, and he came and visited us. And there are a lot of people out there saying Mitchell Trubisky is a much safer pick than Patrick Mahomes. True story. That was out there. That rhetoric was out there. And I'm saying to myself, he does everything right on the field. He does everything right off the field.
Facts.
The only annoying parts of his life are his relatives, not even him. Like his wife's annoying for me. His brother's annoying for me.
His dad's great.
His dad's great.
Yeah.
Love the dad. Also played for the Mets and is a New York athlete. So that's all good too. But man, I want a villain. I need a villain. The sport needs a villain. And outside of Buffalo and outside of Cincinnati, and I suppose you could add, the other AFC West cities. Denver can't think very highly of him. Las Vegas or the Raiders at all, can't think very highly of him, and the Chargers. It's just so hard not to love the guy. And he ain't going to play for my team, and he represents something I've never had in my lifetime as a Jets fan, and that is a top-level quarterback, the best in the league.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, son of a bitch, I hate you, but I love you. I hate you, but you're so likable. I hate you. I wish I had you. I can't hate the guy.
It's tough, especially when you talk about his resume and what he looks like, what he looked like in the postseason, because we know how great he is in the regular season. But you got to pivot a little bit to the defense. He hasn't had a defense up until now, right? And I got a graphic to show you right here.
Oh,
let's go and write the graphic.
Love when you got graphic.
Look at in the 5 AFC title games. That's what his defense was giving up. Allowed 26 points in the Super Bowl, in the 3 Super Bowls, 28 points. But this year, right? His defense holding the opponent to 16 points this season.
Yep.
Like, this is a guy who literally put the franchise on his back, right? Because the defense failed him time after time, and it was him alone with that offense that carried that team.
Now, so let me pivot, if I may, on Patrick Mahomes. I can't hate the guy. I've tried very hard, and I have no problem allowing hate out of my body. I like doing it. It's a pastime, some might say. All right? So instead of acknowledging that I can't hate him, I had to find something negative about him. So I found something negative about him, and it's right up your alley, Jacoby.
Oh, great.
Because one of your knocks on the show on guys like Brock Purdy is that he's a byproduct of his wide receivers' talent and McCaffrey's talent.
You're on my side.
And you have said on the show many
play
times,
calling.
he only throws the ball a couple yards, and then his receivers do the rest.
They can dunk.
Well, what if I told you that Patrick Mahomes benefits from that more than any quarterback in the league?
Oh, look at that.
So this is Patty Mahomes in the AFC Championship game against the Baltimore Ravens. 13 attempts were behind the line of scrimmage. All right, 15 attempts were less than 10 yards, and only 8 of his passes in the entire game, including, the final pass of the game to MVS that seals the win, were 10 yards or longer. So to me, that represents that their offensive success is more about their playmakers than it is about Patrick Mahomes. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Jacoby?
Well, first of all, I'm going to audit those stats, right? So because you put them on the screen doesn't mean that they're actually factual.
Okay,
so
assume
we'll
for a
audit
moment
those.
they're factual.
But if we take those as fact, I would say, Craig, that is eye-opening. Because sometimes what you see, what you perceive, the perception can be reality. I perceive Mahomes as taking more chances.
And a lot of people do.
I perceive Mahomes as going downfield more than that. I perceive Mahomes as sort of the gunslinger type, getting out of the pocket, slinging it down the field. But you try to tell me the most were behind the line of scrimmage? Yeah. That's new information.
Are you calling him a dink and dunk?
And I think you're calling Patrick Mahomes a game manager. A fellow game manager.
Sounds like,
it would seem like we have a battle of game managers if
It
that's
does.
the case. But, it's crazy. It shows you that they don't have wide receivers they trust to go down the field.
Yes.
And
With
either get
Tyreek Hill
open.
in uniform, those numbers
There's a
wouldn't be
different
there.
offense, right. And what's funny about it is that the far majority of those passes that were farther than 10 yards were all to Kelsey. Right?
Interesting.
The MVS one's the one that ends the game.
Interesting.
But that was not their offense. Now, part of that, of course, is the Ravens' defense, even though it took them a half to wake up and play the level of defense that they played throughout the year, they get to the quarterback faster
He threw the
than
ball
most
down the field against
defenses.
the Bills.
But when I saw those numbers, I'm like, for any other quarterback, that's a knock. Hey, you're a byproduct of, receivers making moves, open space, great plays. And if you could put that up one more time, it's telling that, here's the positive of this. This shows you that Kansas City adapts from a coaching standpoint better than any team in football.
No question.
Because that's not Kansas City offense. And they recognize, even if we're able to handle the Ravens defense, they're going to get to him a lot faster than any other defense we've played against this year. And that's factual.
But, Craig,
so what did they do? They adapted their offense to, if they're getting in there quick, I'm getting rid of it quick.
Well, to your point, if you watch the start of that game, it was quick bubble screens. It was quick dumps off to Kelsey. It was Kelsey literally turning around after 3 yards, give me the ball, and he was scamper forward for 4 or 5 yards, really moving the chains. I think what I love about Patty in that game, too, is when he needed to make a play with his legs, he did. When he needed to find Kelsey in his security blanket, he did. Everything he needed to do, he was able to do against the number one ranked team.
And again, I just think, sorry to interrupt you there.
Go on, buddy.
I just think, pardon me for saying this, but the balls that they have. When you have wide receivers you have not trusted all year long and for good reason, and you have a chance now to put the game away and go into victory formation on a 3rd and 9, and you don't go to Kelsey, you don't go to Rashee Rice, they're your 2 best options.
Correct.
And you actually throw up a bit of a prayer down the middle of the field, right, to a guy that drops balls, right, left and right, and convert that 3rd and 9. I mean,
it almost worked in their favor. It's almost like, well, I know they're not going to MVS.
Right.
You know, let's double Kelsey.
Right.
Well, there's no chance of going to MVS again after they did against Buffalo. No way.
That's why Mullet was so, late covering. He was like, you're not throwing in this guy.
Here.
Right. Here goes MVS.
And of all the catches, he makes an acrobatic catch,
falling down and catches it through the ground. And just to circle back to the success and the villainism is, this is in contrast to the previous NFL dynasty, which is obviously the Patriots. Undeniably a dynasty, but there was something wildly unlikable about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady himself. Not just the cheating scandals, the way Tom Brady handled himself, slamming services all the time. Bill Belichick in every press conference never made you smile. If you contrast the Belichick and Brady combination with Reed and Mahomes, it's honestly, it's like porcupines and teddy bears.
Yeah, and you're right, because Andy Reid's extraordinary extraordinarily likable, and frankly, because fat people typically are, right? And just the way it goes. And you have a quarterback who's not, dating the #1 supermodel in the world, all due respect to his wife and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, like Tom Brady went from the guy that showed up in New England with a pickup truck with 100,000 miles on it to a guy that's now married to the world's #1 supermodel, right? All due respect. And it changed, right? It's part of it's Boston and the fan base as well, much like it'd be for New York if we were ever good at anything. But it's also Belichick, which is so douchey to everybody, and they had this air of superiority. Yeah. Right? The only likable guy on those Patriots teams was Gronk. Because Gronk he's a party guy. And he never wavered on who he was. And everybody loves Gronk because he didn't buy into that kind of Watergate mentality of New England. And I think Mahomes is the same guy. Like, he's likable across the board.
And one of the clips they show time after time is when Bill Belichick is receiving the AFC trophy, championship trophy, and he tosses it to the side. Yeah. Well, franchises like ours would have been crying tears.
Yes.
There would have been babies named after, Aaron Rodgers if he was to bring us an AFC championship. So it's just the arrogance that we had to deal with for so long.
Yeah. Moving on to our second headline, and another quarterback we're going to discuss. This time is the gentleman that Mahomes is facing. It is Brock Purdy. We had all heard the discussions. We've had the discussions. We all know the discussions surrounding Brock Purdy, and so does his teammate, Nick Bosa, who spoke after the big NFC Championship win.
I don't pay attention to the media much, but whoever's talking about Brock Purdy, what do you have now?
Okay. Well, I may have done some of that talking about Brock Purdy, and I'll ask you this question, Craig. Is it still fair to criticize Purdy for his performance in these playoffs?
I don't think so, because I don't know what the criticism would be based on, because you are remembered, like we said, for the key moments of the game that resulted in you winning and losing. Like you guys both said, and I agree with you, Lamar Jackson's going to be remembered for what? The interception, right? Throwing into triple coverage. Well, Brock Purdy's not going to be remembered for struggling for 3.5 quarters against Green Bay. He will be remembered for the final drive to win the game. He's not going to be remembered for being down 24-7 to Detroit. He is going to be remembered for making throw after throw, run after run to extend drives, to get first downs, and to ultimately get San Francisco into the end zone enough times to win the game. Like, it ain't easy to score 34 points in a playoff game, and he did it. And he did it with a combination of arms and legs, right? And at this point, to me, and look, I'm not a Niner fan. I have no rooting interest in San Francisco. I just like watching the kid play, and I love the story behind the kid. Mr. Irrelevant, making good, the undefeated year run last year, the unfortunate injury, and now takes his team to a Super Bowl. If you're criticizing Brock Purdy this week or next week, it's because you're one of these new media members who wants to make the story about you. There's nothing to criticize this guy about. He's taking his team to the Super Bowl. Is he perfect? No. Is he the greatest quarterback that we've ever seen? No. But all the kid has done is won, and he does it with a level of humility and humbleness that is lacking in today's professional athletes. So I love this kid.
Let me ask you a different question, William. Because me and you still have some reservations about Mr. Purdy's performance.
Yeah.
So should we give that all up, or does he need to win the Super Bowl to really silence the doubt?
I think you got to win the Super Bowl because you got an opportunity to do it against the best quarterback in the league. And I think that puts you in a different era. That puts you in a different bracket. And so for me, Craig's 100% right. I was a hater. Now I'm no longer a hater, especially after the guy coming off an injury with the elbow. That didn't
so
take
can
away
I stop
from
you there? I think you answered the question, but you brought up a different angle to it, if I may. I don't think he needs to win the Super Bowl for people to now look at him as a top 5 quarterback in this league. We can debate that another day.
It all depends what happens in the Super Bowl.
Here's the difference, though. If he is capable of outplaying Mahomes and San Francisco wins as a result of his great play, then he goes up into the stratosphere of Joe Burrow.
Right.
So I don't think he needs to win it to solidify his place as a top quarterback. Pick the number, doesn't matter for now. But if he beats Mahomes by outplaying him, then you have to have the conversation of Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy. And you can pick the order after Mahomes, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But that's where he would put himself.
Absolutely. I think you put Lamar in there, too, because of the year he's had. But we don't have to talk about that. But I think I think the jury is still out a little bit. I think if he also lays an egg, it can go the other way, too.
Oh, there are people, and by the way, there are people waiting to pounce.
If you lay an egg, I don't think you should come to work.
Watch button.
Take days off.
That's true.
No, I don't take days off.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah, what are you going to be hard for you to sit in that chair? Trying to load manage Craig Carton?
You're going to find another handsome bald guy with his name on the wall?
Willie, don't you know how this works? He just celebrates Mahomes for now 2 hours
I tell you what, if he throws 3 picks or more and you're willing to put on a bald skull cap, you can host the first segment.
Done.
Book it! And if not, you got to buy me breakfast. We got much more football coming.
The Carton Show.
They said it couldn't be done. They said the world would never accept a cookie this long, or pretzel, and probably not a churro. They also said, under no circumstances should those really long and delicious treats be wildly affordable. Then we said, but we already made them, and they are. Introducing the incredible new foot-long sidekicks. Get one at Subway today.
The open road, everyday moments, small towns, and a handful of truly strange pit stops, all spent with one co-pilot. Marathon has been here to fuel countless memories because we are driven together.
I never doubt, Richard. Speak is next. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
What's up, family? It's about to be 90 minutes of fun. You could be watching any show, but you're hanging out with us. We don't take it for granted. Let's get to it. Far-end Super Bowl champ James Jones. What's the word, big dog?
What's cracking, my brother?
It's all good, family.
Hey, ho, tap me. Hey, then tap me again.
It's a good day today. It's a great day, family. To my left is the brilliant Joy Taylor. To my right is the Eagles' all-time rushing leader, 2-5, 2 live, LaShawn, Shady, McCoy. Let's get to 1st and 10, family. Where the whistle? There it is. All right, the Super Bowl is among us. We are just 10 days away. Brock Purdy, he has made it. Kyle Shanahan, he has made it for the 2nd time in 5 years. Elation on the Niners sideline. Well, let's celebrate the biggest sporting event every year, which is the Super Bowl, and talk about it. Now, I'm honored because, Shady, you've won 2 Super Bowls. To my left, James Jones, you've won a Super Bowl, so there's no more Super Bowl experience that you will find amongst the cast than this one. Shady, who benefits more from a Super Bowl? Head coach Kyle Shanahan, quarterback Brock Purdy?
Spit my gum out. It's the first rule on TV. Can't talk without gum in your mouth.